So coming into this day, Doug's up $674,000, about 2/3 the way through the first half of the match, assuming it goes the full 25K. So coming into this day, Doug's up $674,000.
So a third of the way through the whole thing.
About 2/3 the way through the first.
That's
half
a much
of
less
match,
confusing way to say it. Thanks. So on pace, he would win like a little over 2 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have no idea if it's going to go the full distance or not, but I think there's got to be some point of pain, right, where Daniel's going to go, okay, I don't want to play anymore. I don't know what that number is. Yeah.
Well, it's not just the number too, right? It's also the perception. Like if Daniel loses a bunch, but he thinks he's been running bad and it's like an unrepresentative sample, then he might continue to play. I heard an interview with him where he said he had no plan to stop at 12.5. I don't know
really?
if that's posturing. Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. On his podcast with the amazing T-Chan. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
I saw the Kev Robichow one. He was so good.
That was awesome.
Great. That was a lesson for me. That was fun.
Yeah, chat really liked K-Rab. And I don't know, maybe we'll sucker him back in again, but it was like free coaching.
Daniel used 40% on this Ace King 3. It's different from what he was doing before, right? He was using mostly 20%. He's been adding different sizes, I think.
Yeah, he introduced the 40% flop bet a few times as well in the last couple streams. So I don't know what to make of that.
Ace King boards are so specific that I feel like if you're going to add a size in addition to 20%, I would add a much bigger size, like 80% or pot or something like that. I can't imagine the EV difference between 20 and 40% is that significant.
Well, it was a third sizing though. Like you already had the larger one.
So, like, on the flop, like
on the flop. Yeah. So for anybody in chat who's not familiar with you, do you want to give a little background on your poker career and your heads up sit and goes and stuff?
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, I don't know. I've been playing poker for a long time, 16 years. Probably played close to 11 million hands. Played a lot of heads up, mostly heads up sit and goes, which are, different from cash games, but still I've played quite a bit of heads up. Now I live in New Jersey, play cash games in New Jersey, play some heads up cash, but also some ring cash. And I like live tournaments, but no one's playing live tournaments really in COVID, so I'm waiting to come back to the live scene.
Oh yeah, I feel like live tournaments after COVID are going to be just a zoo. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
When people like me want to play live tournaments again, like you're going to print.
Yeah, I think we're all just hungry for any kind of social interaction and activities outside our homes, and yeah, it's exciting for it to come back for sure. Any good hands? No. Saw Doug use a huge size on Ace Jack 9. That was cool.
Chat says your mic is just a little bit low. I don't know if
my mic is low. Okay.
Yeah, you are a little quiet.
Is that better?
I think so. B. Danko says Olivier best known for his fighting career, right?
Yeah, I 1-0 and I retired.
Can't believe you hit and run it that way.
My mom can believe it.
What'd you say?
My mom could not take more than one.
Yeah, like, please stop getting punched in the face. I understand that.
All right, Doug 4-bet here. You see this on the right table?
Yep.
Four-bet call spots are the best.
Yeah, I was seeing. I mean, that was one of the more eye-opening things for me, having not played Heads Up at all, was how much flatting of 4-bets there were. I'm like, whoa! Especially the stacks weren't very deep. It was like a starting stack, and 10Ks being flatted with Queen Jack off. I'm like, what?
Oh no, that's not a thing though. I
Oh,
mean, if people are doing that, that's bad.
it was a thing.
But yeah, no, yeah, I don't think people should be doing that. But also because when you flat the 4-bet, like you're out of position too, So
Yeah.
that's even yeah. I think most of it has to do with the fact that 3-bet ranges are pretty linear. So like you have hands like King Jack suited or something like that, and you get 4-bet. I mean, you can't fold because you'll just get run over. But and you just have good equity. So and actually the fact that you're out of position is not as big of a deal because the stack to bot ratio is so much smaller. So you can't really get punished. It's actually much bigger issue if you're like 2, 3, 400 blinds deep, because then position can be a big problem.
And we've seen it that there have been a few times already where they're just getting so deep and they don't have a stack reset. You have to top up when you're under the 40K, but there's no stack reset, so they could just be 500 big ones a piece at some point if they play long enough. And there've been some like really weird spots where they're both like 150 deep, 150K deep.
Yeah, it's interesting because I assume that dynamic has happened actually less than one would expect because Daniel plays so passively, and that their sessions are honestly not that long.
Yeah, except for the other guy.
Yeah, I guess there was this one for like 4.5 hour session or something. But besides that, playing 2.5 hour sessions, and I mean they are also playing quickly though, which is great. But they're not actually swinging that much relative to, or just in terms of buy-ins. And I mean, yeah, they're not really swinging that much. I mean, I play sessions where I swing 7-8 buy-ins in like like 1,000 hands.
Yeah. They're not really ending up with big swings, but there have been some where like Doug's up a huge amount and then just
Daniel comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Daniel with the check raise with a block here. I think this type of spot is actually quite good when the turn and river are the same card. That's a spot that has a kind of disproportionate dynamic in favor of the imposition player. They might turn a pair and it's just not as good a hand to bluff with anymore. So sometimes it is actually, but a lot of times it's not. And then it's just very unlikely that the out of position player has it. So then when that card pairs, all of a sudden one player has many more trips than the other, and they can leverage that. All right, we got a big pot here on the right. Do we know what happened here on the right exactly?
I was watching the left and small pot. Yeah, I'll replay it after. With the worst replayer in the whole world. Upswing said 3-bet, C-bet by Daniel on the right.
Okay.
Oh no! I thought I secured the doors enough for the dogs not to be able to push in. I was incorrect.
Are they in? Have they entered?
They're in. Hi guys.
Oh, what's up, puppies? Are they together?
Yeah, they're a team. We got only one right now, but she's back there. I mentioned dogs without showing a dog. I'm so sorry, chat. They're gonna hate my guts.
I saw one. I saw a little bit. Lap in poker. He cites his own podcast and then tells us, "Can you tell us about when you were a Shark Scope fishbowl?"
That's a good
Yeah.
question. You were, right? Someone pointed out that you were a fish, and then it inspired you to get good.
Yeah, not so much that I was a fish, but just yeah, they called me a fish and cited my SharkScope, like my losses on SharkScope as evidence. And I didn't even know what SharkScope was. They introduced me to SharkScope, which became my like fuel. And that's how I started committing to heads up sit and goes and started playing them all the time. I wanted to get my SharkScope even and then wanted to get it positive and then just kept going. And
So
yeah. Yeah.
on the left here, you got a pot brewing. Is a full pot on the turn. A call by Daniel, I believe.
Whoa. Yeah, sometimes you get into these dynamics, right, where someone like Doug bets the turn in a spot like that, and you perceive his range to be relatively polarized.
Mhm.
And so on the river, when he checks, you feel like, well, a polarized range essentially means there are a number of hands that are giving up now. Or on the flip side, maybe some traps. And so then you're a bit gun shy with the hand that's as strong as trips. I think, though, you really limit yourself if you're going to check uh, three aces there because you want to be able to. You're not always 100% precise with your breakdown of your opponent's range. And if you can't value bet a hand like that, then you have so few value bets that you also can't really bluff that much either. And you're kind of just really limited in what your kind of betting options are. So I mean, I think even in those spots, you have to force yourself to be able to bet. And also, oftentimes, you can make more money by just betting and calling a raise because your hand is so strong. You block a lot of the value combos, and your hand is a perfectly good bluff catcher in a lot of spots. So
that's interesting. So you're not only leaving money on the table in this one spot where maybe Doug hero calls, and Doug has hero called Daniel quite a bit, but you're also making problems for your range going forward when you're wanting to bet the river.
totally,
That's what you're saying.
yeah.
Interesting with the after this hand because it's a overbet by Doug and he takes it down. That shark scope story is pretty interesting to me because I think that could have been what hastened poker getting tougher more than other things that are blamed for it. Because making people aware that they're losing, if it wasn't getting tracked, like some people just go, whatever, I love poker, and they remember their wins more than their losses. It's why live poker is still pretty good. I think people don't always like track how they're doing. And then online, it's like people use it to needle you, and all of a sudden you're aware that you're losing in some format that you maybe never would have really realized.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, like SharkScope now it has a much different reporting system. Like now, it's like almost everybody opts out of it, and so you actually can't look up anybody's results. You can't see how anybody's doing. At the time, just people weren't really doing that. I'm sure in part because of ego, but it was just more open, and you had to like choose to opt out of it, and very few people did that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always torn on the idea of accurate or transparent. I mean, I'm not really torn on the idea of accurate, transparent reporting. I think there should be much more transparent reporting. But I think some people take the argument that if people play tournaments and then their losses were like they could look up their losses, they would play less. But
yeah, that's true.
But it's not. But I think that's good. I think that would be good for them then. Maybe it's bad for the overall poker economy, but it's like if people had more it's I don't know. Sometimes I think about politics. It's like if people were better informed decision makers, that would be good overall. That's what we want, I think. So yeah, maybe some poker players would make a bit less money, but I think it's better to be honest and transparent than
it
it
just
is
provides ammo for
people
who want to needle, though. That's the problem. Like that, I think it can make for a nastier environment.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, I hear that. But that's why I think it's important. It's important what default option you set. So if you set the default option as opt in, then I agree with you more that then most people will just leave whatever the default is. So everybody's results will be obvious. But if you flip the default option and it's opt out, and for you to opt in, you have to click opt in, then you're making the choice to make it available for people to see. And then if then that's you're probably more comfortable.
People can opt out of Hendon Bob now, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, really? That's a new thing? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, you can just like opt out and then it'll say anonymous in certain spots. So
I think it's good.
yeah, don't quote me on that. I'm like 95% sure as of a year ago. Doug taking it down with the pair of eights.
Super small bet by Daniel on the left.
Doug has taken advantage of these tiny bets, like just blocker looking bets by Daniel. They get raised a lot. I want to say it like 80% of the time. I'm just like, okay, it's about to be 6K here. Just a call. Wow, that's the tiniest value bet of all time. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, he's just betting the value of his hand, really. But yeah, this is part of the problem with this bet. I think is part of the problem with that you encounter in the progression of studying, which is that like the easiest part of learning that bet is learning to make it with a 6, right? Because there's this straightforward, like you're betting the value of your hand. But what you need to do to be balanced or unexploitable or whatever catchword you want to use, right, is you need to have some bluffs there, you need to have some really strong hands there, and you need to have the right mix, and you need to pick the right combos because you don't want to waste value with some of your other ones, or you want to increase the frequency of raise sizes by the nature of the specific combo you're choosing, right? Because otherwise it becomes very, very difficult, just like you're saying, for Doug to attack with thinner value bets of his own, with a lot of bluffs and that type of stuff. And so like along the progression of studying, you know, if you've only gotten to the point where you can like, you know which value hands to bet a certain spot, or the kind of low hanging fruit bluffs to bet in a spot, then your range is going to be inherently unbalanced and unbalanced in very specific ways. Not enough bluffs, or not enough thin value, or not enough something. And so somebody further along the studying progression can, like, I think, really crush. That's one thing that I've noticed playing against regs who are clearly studying but are not. It's just you can see it. You can see the way people learn.
I was thinking too that Daniel, from what Doug says, and pretty much from what Daniel says in interviews, that he does feel like he's getting better. Like he's introducing new sizings and making it a little tougher on Doug. And then now they're going to have a break for the holidays for a little bit. And I'm like, I wonder if this is going to be a study session for Daniel, or if it's really like a holiday break. It seems like he's learning a lot of stuff.
It's interesting because if I were coaching Daniel, I wouldn't try to get him better by introducing new sizes. Like I don't think that makes sense. Like I heard Daniel talk about, like, I just used one size, or my coaches really limited me in what I was allowed to do until I mastered it, and then I moved on. It's like, you didn't master it. You didn't master one bet size. You know what I mean? I can like you can go through a single PO, like a single solve, and it's complicated. It's hard. It's like you haven't mastered anything. I would actually try to get better at a more limited framework of strategy rather than expand all my bet sizes into all these spots.
So huge pot on the left here. We'll replay it after. Doug with the flush. Wow, what a turn card. Just nice turning the straight, and Doug, I better snipe this real fast. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I assume this was single raised and Doug tech raised the flop.
Let's see. Yep, so far.
Yeah, and then he just bet.
Oh, it went just check call, min bet on the flop. And then Doug check raised the turn huge and shoved river.
Yeah. All right. I mean, what are you gonna do? You have a straight and a club locker call. I mean, okay. Yeah, but this is
says Olivier is a great host, so much value. I agree. I'm sorry if we missed a couple hands here and there, but I think there's value.
There's like 200 messages, and you pick out that message to read. I thank you.
I'm being nice. I'm mean to you all during Mafia. I'll be nice to you.
Yo, big bet by Daniel here. 18-5 into 12-5 on this river. Maybe we should focus more on the hands as they are played, instead of just like, ooh, cool.
Oh,
interesting. I just noticed this.
Well, it's not like we're talking about Pokemon or something. Like you're giving some good instruction for people who are probably, there's a lot of people who are probably interested in heads up for the first time from watching these challenges. I'm one of them, and I would like to lose less money as I try to play it. So any insight is valuable.
Yeah. Heads up is fun. You get to like play almost all the hands.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm such a nit. Maybe it'll have a positive influence on my tournament game.
Yeah, I
Then,
keep hearing,
I've played
you say
before.
you're nit. That's so surprising.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you in the streets. I bet you'd like poker more if you.
I agree with that. I mean, I've watched people play who are like psychotic, like Selps. I used to just think, wow, her showing up to a tournament is so different from me showing up to a tournament.
That's an extreme counterexample, though.
It is, but
that's a very you thing to go from like super nit to Vanessa Selps. You're like, it's one or the other. Which one should I do?
Yeah, I was just thinking, her showing up, like she needs a reason to fold. Like she needs some huge reason to ever fold her hand, right? For me, I'm just like, I need reasons to play. I'm like, oh, it's a good hand, or like a weak opponent opened, or whatever. Like completely different mindsets, and yeah, her way is more fun.
Dino Deans, yes, I am playing in New Jersey. Yo, my favorite Vanessa Selp story. I was in. This is not my favorite. I have a lot. She's awesome. But we were like in. I think it was Monte Carlo. And we're in the elevator walking to the 25K heads up, and she's like, oh, do you want to swap some? And I was just like, I think I'd rather just like take my own action or whatever. And she was like, and she looked at me like, oh, okay, cool, like whatever. And then like I busted in 20 minutes and she got like third.
Oh, brutal.
This is so classic. There's a classic Vanessa story.
That's pretty funny because Daniel's taking it down for about 5K on the right. With Vanessa, it's like, do you want to increase your variance with this swap?
I just had a policy for a long time. I still basically do that. I just don't really swap.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't like to deal with owing money and having people owe me money, and I just never really did it. If I don't know. It increases variance, but if I want lower variance, I can just sell action.
Yeah, I have actually the same policy because nobody wants to swap with me. So.
No, but sometimes I do appreciate it when people are like spread out in tournaments among a bunch of their friends, and that does sound fun too.
Yeah. But I had one really fortunate. We've Doug taking down another small pot with a pair of aces.
Doug is crushing already.
Oh, he's crushing. Yeah.
Right?
It's been a bloodbath in the beginning of many matches lately. I'm wondering if Daniel is I don't know. It sucks if you commit to a certain number of hands and you have to play, and then you just kind of don't want to anymore. That's why I've like never been involved in any challenges like this. Because what if you're just like getting wrecked, and you're like, okay, 3 days a week I just show up and get wrecked. Like that has to go on you.
Psychologically, it's got to wear on you if you start off in the red every time. Like you come back, and then one day you don't come back maybe, and you're just like, oh no. You're like, oh no. Like you play, like you're down 250 big blinds and you play like a 300 blind flip and then you lose it instead of like you've been winning it and you're like, oh god.
I don't know how much you've been watching, but there was one session I commentated that was like the bloodiest of bloodbaths, and the end of it was a 2-outer. It was just all in pre. It was like
I didn't watch it, but I heard about it.
Yeah. Doug just hits the 8 at the end for like the cherry on top, and I was just like, it was just like as I'm seeing the hands go in, I'm like, Doug's winning this one. That's just how this like whole day is going, and it was I want the video feed from that day. 7-Eleven's asking, do you think Daniel play has changed or will change as they get closer to the 12.5K? I don't think so. I think they're both just trying to play good poker. And there's no reason if there's a huge spread, if it's like $1 million, there's no reason for either player to really change up their play at all to try to win side bets. So I feel like it's probably going to be just like this.
Obtwilix asked me who's the best heads up sit and go player out of Greeny, Genius, and Skywalker. I mean, I'm kind of partial to Greeny. That's Dan Coleman. That's my boy. So he was very good. Skywalker is like the most consistent, especially at hypers. Just insane at hypers. But yeah, I would out of those three, I'd have to pick my boy Dan Coleman, especially when he's on. He's a bit fluctuated, but when he was on in the zone, you don't want to play that guy.
He did it the right way. Just came in, crushed poker. He's like, I'm not doing an interview. I don't want to get any kids into poker who shouldn't be in here. I'm out. And I was like, whoa.
It helps to run like 500% over EV and you're one super high roller shot taking.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's also interesting too how it's like some people, they just get into this flow and it lasts like a legitimately long period of time where it's just like they're confident, their confidence inspires a kind of intimidation so that other people are playing worse against them. They're just like feeling like all the spots correctly. It's just amazing how you get these perfect storms sometimes in poker. It seems like it shouldn't happen that way, that, you know, like luck like doesn't have a memory, that kind of shit. But it's like, man, sometimes everything just works together for you and you're just
It's
amazing. It's never happened to me live, but I see it and I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, this must feel so amazing. And then it actually makes sense to retire after that because it's like I'm never going to come close. It's never going to even come close to that again. It's always going to be a letdown, always chasing that feeling and that feeling of dominance too. That just complete, yeah.
Yeah, there was an aura like that around Phil Ivey for a long time where it's just people were playing their worst against him. So it's not only that he's good and that he's confident, but they're like people afraid of him.
Getting gifts. It's getting gifts. D-Negs with the 4-bet here on the left. Yeah, man. Just 4-bet a quarter of your stack. A bit more, actually. I think Doug's going to jam here.
I always think that, though.
Oh, he called. All right, cool. Yeah. Really the right size on this board? I mean, not the right size, because that's not, I don't like that framing, but this is an interesting size.
I know Mike Brady was talking about that. Like, he doesn't like the whole, like, is this a thing or not a thing? Because it's like poker shouldn't be so rigid, I guess.
Yeah, I actually think the expression "is this a thing" is like shorthand for would PO do this?
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what people do is they want the idea of a right or wrong answer to a poker question. And PO, I think, provides that illusion that it can give you the right or wrong answer. I hear all the time people be like, oh, what I do is I play a hand, and if I'm unsure, I check it. It's like, what the fuck does that mean, you check it? It's like, oh, it's like I look in the answer book, and then it tells me if I did it right or wrong. It's like the answer book is PO. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not the game we're playing. But I think there's it like gives us a sense of kind of security almost. It's like, oh, I can figure out whether what I did was correct, and if not, what the actual correct thing is, as opposed to being like, it depends. Like, conceptually, this makes sense, but there are other factors to consider. There are short-term factors, contextual factors, opponent-specific factors, all this other stuff. That becomes much more complicated and much more potentially like I don't know. It's just I think a bit the framing of right or wrong and correct or incorrect, and then having a kind of answer book is just, it's much more psychologically reassuring than what I think is the reality. So I think people rely on it as a crutch a bit. Pros, like, and like especially pros, because it's not like you don't hear amateur players being like, oh, I checked it with PO. Like that's a pro thing.
And when we do, it's time to move on to a new profession.
It's never going to be time to move on.
Oh, are you a lifer?
No, I mean, I don't know. I can hardly predict next week, but 16 years is a long time. Feels like it's been like 5 lifetimes, 5 iterations. Olivier, now that No Limit Hold'em and somewhat PLO are getting solved, do you think a new variant will be invented soon that will be much tougher for humans to get close to playing optimally via setting solvers? No, I don't, because I disagree with the premise. I don't think No Limit Hold'em is even close to being solved. And I think part of the reason for that is the idea of the game being solved is based on a concept of GTO, which is essentially based on the idea of playing unexploitably. And playing unexploitably is not only like insanely difficult, and I don't think very many people are even close as an approximation, but it's also to be distinguished from playing optimally, right? If you're playing your friend Bob on the Thursday night, like the best strategy against Bob is not what PO tells you it is. And Bob himself will play differently at 8 p.m. than he will at 1 a.m. And he'll play differently 2 beers in than he will 8 beers in. And your ability to like take those short-term contextual factors and increase the edge of your strategy over his, given those factors, I think will make poker always interesting and dynamic and strategically, I guess, unsolvable, essentially. So yeah, and I don't know enough about PLO, but it seems like PLO is even further. That being said, will other variants be invented? Like, sure, I think people like variety, and I think the idea of a more level playing field, because pros are so much better than amateurs, makes a lot of sense. I think one problem that the poker ecosystem has is that the gap between pros and amateurs is as large as it's ever been.
Yeah.
And so if you're an amateur player and you're thinking about what to do in a casino, like it probably makes more sense financially for you to play any other game than for you to sit at a poker table. Now, it's probably less fun because poker is much more interesting of a game. But, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that just wasn't the case. Like yes, pros were better than amateurs, but not by as much. I mean, you can see that the pros
and some amateurs could just be naturally pretty good at certain things that used to be more valuable in the game, like reading people and realizing that like someone doesn't want to lose their last $1,000, things like that. And I feel like now it's just more mathematical and analytical, and like the pros who put in the time are just going to have a way bigger advantage.
Yeah, they're just more precise. And also like when you play online, I mean, it's like when I play online in New Jersey, I play multiple tables. I have Poker Tracker. It's like, what chance does some guy? What chance do they have? I mean, it's like you have to play 4 of me, and I have tools helping me, and I have a fucking mental coach, and I meditate, and it's like, okay, good luck, bro. Like,
yeah. We have a big pot brewing on the left. It was 4-bet and called.
Daniel bets $2.80.
Yep. So this board's really good for him, right? As the 4-better.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, yeah. I mean, he's not gonna have that many ace X. He's gonna have a couple ace X bluffs. He's gonna have some ace king, but he won't have that much other ace X. And Doug will have some ace jack suited, some ace jack off, ace queen off, and ace queen suited, some other suited aces. So Daniel is not really going to have that many super strong hands. It depends how he plays 2 10s this deep. 2 10s is kind of the cutoff for the value portion of his range.
I've seen him like not play very aggressively. He was flatting some hands at Doug that were blowing Doug's mind.
Yeah, the backdoor flush also helps Doug's range. He's going to have a larger proportion of his range being suited. I mean, this is okay. That's absurd.
Wow.
It's the thing is like, I mean, Doug snap calling there with an ace, given that action is like ace 8. I mean, I assume PO wants to call there, but is Daniel really bluffing that much? Like, I don't know.
Well,
I guess. Go ahead.
I was going to say Daniel is not bluffing that much as far as we can tell, because every time Doug heroes is just very bad news for Doug.
Yeah, the problem for Doug, because I think some people simply say Doug doesn't try to exploit too much, and he just, if he thinks the call is theoretically correct, he just does it and is like, good luck beating my theoretical approach. But I think from an exploitative point of view, it's also complicated and difficult because, as we said before with those trip aces spot, right? The less thin you're able to value bet, the much greater the risk that your proportion of bluffs to value bet is off with too many bluffs. You don't have to be bluffing that much to be bluffing too often if you're not value betting thinly enough. So like if Daniel doesn't take that line with ace king, right? Because it's just like, it's only one pair at the end there. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm just saying if in theory, like it's hard for him to have a lot of value bets because he needs to have such a good hand, then Doug needs to be calling even more often, right? Because it's just, okay, sometimes Daniel has fucking a set of aces, but you have an ace, so it's even harder. So it's like, what does Daniel really have here? So I think there's always that kind of balancing act in terms of how light you should call someone, even someone who's on the nittier side. But obviously, huge pot, like that was 6 spot there. Like just being able to flop a set there and just it's such a sweet feeling. I mean, the backdoor flush does come. So if you get snapped off, sometimes you're just like, please no. Because it's hard for your opponent to have anything, right? I mean, it's
yeah. That's why I'm like, you're super happy to hit top set, but it's like when it's top set of aces, it's a little less exciting. Like top set of 10s, you're like, let's go. especially in like hoping that Doug has some like traps when he's flatting the 4-bet. But yeah, you don't expect to be able to get a stack in when you hit a top set of aces there. But
and when it runs backdoor flush,
yeah,
and you have the top set of aces, you're like almost like, please don't call me.
Yeah.
If he calls me, that's a better hand. But no, case ace. But I mean, also like, you know, if you're thinking about what aces to call with, like, I mean, you probably have ace jack with a spade, ace queen with a spade. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure it's a fine call.
One of these times, Daniel's going to be bluffing, okay? One of these times. We're like 0 for 10 on catching it, but it's going to happen.
I wish I could see actually like an actual like rigorous breakdown of those spots, because is Daniel really like under bluffing so significantly in the spots that we've seen? Everyone says that. Everyone says that, but it's
whole cards would be amazing.
No, I'm saying this even in the spots that we've seen in the from the info that we have. Is it really that? Is it really that?
Well, in my vast heads up experience, and like I just have millions of hands logged in my brain about this, yeah, it seems like he's under bluffing. I don't know, Liv.
No, I'm saying, have we seen Doug hero call and win? Like
very rarely.
Very rare, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious how rare is. That's what I'm curious about. D-Negs with the 116K stack. Let's go, Daniel. I'm rooting for Daniel now.
Get out of here. You're on the wrong stream. This is the Upswing Doug poker stream.
Let's go. I'm just a contrarian by nature. I feel more comfortable when people don't like me. He has hero called and won several times. That's right, Jamo. Keep us honest, bro. Or sis.
All right, Jamo. I have a question for you though. I want to know percentage-wise, like when he's hero calling, what do you think the percentage is that he is hero calling and shown a bluff? If it's higher than 20%.
Dan Caddy with the great advice: just play perfect GTO and you're good. Which is, I mean, if you guys are thinking about what to do, I really recommend taking that approach. Polk, how much volume of heads up cash did you play when you were #1 ranked heads up sit and go player? Not a lot of volume. Every once in a while, I would get super tilted and play somebody good and lose and feel like an idiot, but mostly did not really play other formats besides heads up sit and goes. I've always been a firm believer that you can do a very profitable and good strategy in the overall poker world is to find a specialty, find a niche, and crush it. Big fish, small pond is the best way to profitability.
That is some good advice that I should have taken a long time ago.
For me, it was really just happenstance. It wasn't deliberate. Somebody made fun of me, and I was like, no.
That's great.
What is this theory talk? Zzz. Zygmunt, tell us what you'd rather hear about, Zygmunt. I want to know. If it's not theory talk, tell us.
Got a pot on the left, 3/4 pot from Daniel.
Oh, it was a big hand. I forgot we were watching poker. Hello. All in.
Shovel.
Does it have to be a straight? No. Damn.
Most of the kings. Another cooler over here, but in the other direction. Oh, this is going to be really fun if this gets really deep on the left.
I'd like to know about Olivier's hair care regimen. Lapin Poker with all of the insightful and
always jokes.
Questions. My hair care regimen is I wash my hair like twice a week, and then I go like this, and then sometimes I put some pomade in it. That's basically it. Thanks for asking, though. Appreciate it. Sick cooler there with top set of kings. Again, like a lot of straight combos there, but that's like, you know, Doug gets that thin. I mean, not super thin. Okay, he's got top set, but it's part of the thing that we were also talking about. It's like, okay, he's got top set. What does the guy have if it's not a straight or a bluff, or if he's going to call me, if he has a good enough hand to call me, and I block all of the top pair, top 2 pair type combos, like, should I really be trying to get value from here? And Doug is just like, yes. and he runs into one of the 2-pair combos, including the king. So
yeah, the way the hand played out, I mean, Doug has to go for it on the river because it was check on the turn when Daniel.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you don't pay enough attention. Liv, have you tried going carnivore, full carnivore for any portion of time? No, I think the full carnivore diet is absurd and ridiculous. So no. I'm not even really a big fan of keto. I think keto as a short-term weight loss strategy is fine and probably relatively effective, especially when combined with fasting or intermittent fasting. But just the idea that the carnivore diet is like a particularly healthy way to go long-term, I think flies in the face of a lot of evidence and common sense, and is more of a like trend diet. Which hair dye do you use, Vanessa Polk? First of all, great screen name. I love it. Second of all, I don't use hair dye. I know I look much older than I am, but I'm actually not yet 40.
Only like 52. It's fine.
Gives me sick gains. Hey, bro, if it works for you, I don't know what to say. I got to stop calling people bro if I don't know what their gender is.
Wow, it's very woke of you, Liv.
Hashtag woke for life. Is water fasting healthy? I think you got to be careful. Oh, water fasting. Yeah. So yeah, I think fasting. I think when people say fasting, they mean water fasting. I think, yeah, I fast a lot. I think it's great. I think it's way underutilized as a strategy for losing weight and having energy and activating autophagy, which is like one of the main things I do it for. So yeah, I think fasting is great. Dry fasting, which is when you don't drink water, I think is also potentially really great, but you have to be more careful with it. So I would be more careful.
I've never even heard of that. It sounds terrible.
I dry fast a lot most days for 12 hours. But I don't really do much longer than that. And I think you feel the effects much quicker. Yeah, if you don't drink any water either. But yeah, I don't know. I heard it was like a multiplier of 2 in terms of the benefits or something. All right, we got some stacks now. Let's go. Oh, Doug with the raise.
Let's go.
Then would he go here?
The chat has the best questions for you. I'm so happy you're here because I usually get some horrific questions, and now it's just you.
Lab and poker. Are your eyebrows real or tattooed? If those are my only 2 options, the answer is real. But I do have a bit of a maintenance regimen because otherwise I would just have one long ass caterpillar tattoo, which I don't want to have. So I get a little bit of work done right in the middle here, a little shaping done. You know what I'm saying? Nothing crazy, but I'm trying to look good and I'm still single. Any ladies out there? What's up?
Yeah, there's a lot of ladies that watch these poker Twitch streams.
I know.
At least 1 to 2%.
I sense that from the nature of the chat.
Yeah.
It's a very female-dominated vibe.
So Doug got that raise through on the left for a 20K pot.
You got it through means you didn't get called?
Yeah.
I'm still learning these fancy terms you poker players use. Droid Phoenix, haha, the most eligible bachelor in poker is single. Appreciate that.
Yes, David Lappin is still unmarried.
It's wow. Joe Chong up in here. Is he? What's up, Joe? Joe, are you here? What's up, Joe? All right, micro stakes. Let's go. By the way, I played micro stakes like I forget when it was a little while ago. And I didn't know it was Doug, but I thought it was. And as I'm playing him, I'm like going through his like YouTube channel and I'm like desperately looking for one of his old streams to see if it was him. And we're like playing for a little while. And then finally I get to one of his streams and then I see his name. And it was like that feeling where I was like, it is him. And I was like, it is him. It's him. I was like, same thing happened with
regrets, or were you just like,
what? No, I was like, bring it, son. Let's go.
Oh, all right. What
same thing happened when I played Landon Tice. I was playing this kid, I was playing this dude, and I was like, yo, who is this dude? And then I was like, wait, it sounds familiar. And then I was like, blah, blah, blah. And I looked up and it was Landon Tice. And I was like, oh, what's up, Landon? And then he murdered me. Just like cold blood murdered me. And I was like, thanks a lot.
He battled Doug a couple times too. But yeah, everyone says he's like up and coming, awesome player.
Up and coming. He's arrived, yo.
He's like 12 years old. He has to
He's
be up
arrived.
and
He's 12 years old. He's not 12 years old. What's with these small 7K pots? Let's go, guys.
Isn't it funny that like it does seem to be that way, where it's like it's got to be a warm up, and then they just start slinging chips everywhere?
Well, these are tournament chips, right? They bought in for like $300, and then these
Yeah.
are just tournament chips. That's my understanding. They're playing just like big long sit and go.
Well, he was doing that with Perkins. They were playing at like 20x or whatever.
Oh,
so
and crosswalking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do that? Is that just because the rake is lower if you do it that way? Like this is rake free, but if they're playing ACR or something like that,
I doubt it's a rake issue because the rake's not that high. I assume it's like I don't want to have to put $2 million on this site.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's like
normal.
let's play smaller and then we'll wire each other the money. I assume that's what it is.
Yeah.
And both guys are.
They're probably good for it.
Yeah, right. I think they get some good credit in the community. Liv, do you think it's better to target volume online or target soft live games? That's a very independent, like specific question. For me, I would always want to target volume online, both because I'm confident I can win and because I don't like people that much. So like having to play like poker, having to like go somewhere and play live poker is my daily grind. Actually sounds like one of the versions of hell that I might be subject to. I love live poker in small doses and when I choose it, but as my day-to-day grind, it looks like they're taking a break. Cool, guys. Right when I was about to start paying attention to the games.
Let me have a quick break. And yeah, you got chat. Good luck.
Okay. I had a dream I was in an MMA match with Oliver Buskets. He got me in a twister and I realized I was nude and couldn't cover my modesty. I should have read that before I read it out loud. From a money point of view, Daniel must know there are better things to do. I think Daniel's fully aware that he's a dog. I think he thinks that he's probably a bit less of a dog than the odds. Plus, you guys have to understand there are some external benefits to this challenge, right? There's publicity. And at the end of the day, no matter what happens, Daniel's going to be a lot better at the end of the challenge than he was at the beginning. And that's valuable. That's valuable from a financial point of view because he'll just be better. But also, like, this is what he does and he loves. And just being better at it is great. It's just going to feel good and it's going to be cool. So, I mean, respect to Daniel for challenging and being willing to play high stakes against one of the, most successful heads up players ever. And, this was part of the motivation for my own challenge, my MMA challenge, which is like, even if I lose, I still come out a winner, right? Because I still had this incredible experience. I still learned a valuable skill. So I think that's part of the motivation for some of these challenges, some of these bets people make, is that they try to create win-win situations. That even if they lose, they still get a lot of benefit or value out of the thing. And I think that's an important kind of thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about stuff, is how can I create like win-win situations or like break-even win situations? You don't want to always be in situations where like the upside is great, but then the downside is terrible. You always got to manage that downside. Olivia, do you still play chess? I play every day. I have a coach now. I'm like worse than I was a month ago, but I love chess. I play in Washington Square Park. I've become friends with some fancy chess people. And yeah, chess is awesome. Olivia, how cool did it feel when you cracked ace after you flopped a full house and you hit runner ace? Yo, let me just say one quick thing about that hand. Everyone loves bringing up this hand. Yes, it was a weird run out, but the only reason it was a weird run out is because they have this bizarre convention of when you're all in, pausing at the flop. If all they did was just turn over all 5 cards at once, it wouldn't seem that weird. It was just a 30-70 that I won. It was just a weird order of the cards. So
When
yeah,
was that? In live poker, or was it like?
Yeah. This was like 9 left at the 50K at Barcelona. I like jammed over an open with ace deuce of spades, and the opener had kings, and it came king 8-8, ace. So like, yeah, that's a weird run out, right? Like, especially because they pause after the king 8-8 flop, and the commentators are like, "Oh, Olivier's dead," and they show the camera on my face, and I'm like, face. And then it's like ace, and everyone's like, oh, imagine. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then it's like ace again, and I'm like, oh, I won. Oh, that's crazy. And then I won the tournament, so I was like, that was cool. But yeah, it's not like I called pre and then check raised all in on the flop. You know, it was like we're just suited ace first kings. But you know, it's like luckiest hand ever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, what up, Olivier? Somehow every time I think about you, I think about Armageddon of I should read these first.
Probably not.
Jack versus ace queen in the Millie Maker with 10 left. I have okay. Yeah, I don't remember that hand, but that sounds brutal, bro.
Yeah, when you're a woman, you become adept at reading the chat and not even seeing those ones. Like I'm like they just go by.
Yeah. Olivier, what's your favorite cheese? I'm particularly recently I've been partial to triple cream brie. I've been crushing triple cream brie on the daily. I like all kinds of cheese though, to be honest.
You're so fancy.
I'm French. We grew up with cheese a lot of cheese everywhere. Fancy camembert and Emmental and all these French cheeses. It was amazing. I love cheese. And yeah, probably not that good for you, but who cares, yo? Just live your life. Crushing triple cream pea like a boss. How can I grow a nice beard like you? I mean, I got some good beard genetics, honestly. But really just take your time. Just don't rush it. You know what I'm saying? Wow, Daniel betting 40% on the 883 two-tone board. Not really two-tone, flush draw board. Wow, and a call, $3,600. What could they have? I mean, check. This is crazy. This flop, this board. Sorry.
Just the chat is way better with you in here because you're answering every ridiculous question, so the questions just get more and more weird.
Olivier, est-ce que vous parlez français? Un petit peu. Pas assez, mais un petit peu. How would you do against Greg Shahade? Can I ask your rating? Yo, Greg Shahade would be lucky that I would even sit at the board with homeboy. All right.
Because Greg would make a lot of money, is what he's saying.
He means in chess, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Greg would make a lot of Greg would make money because I'd be willing to pay him to play with me. Greg is too cool to play chess with me, honestly. But if you guys are interested in Greg Shahade, on Saturday night, we are all fortunate enough for Greg to listen to Greg do commentary for like the US Open tournament, whatever it is. Just Saturday night, don't make plans because Greg's going to be doing commentary. That's where I'm going to be too. Watching and listening to Greg break down the beautiful game of chess. Olivier is out of frame on Twitch Mobile. Oh my God, not Twitch Mobile. Let me reframe myself for the Twitch Mobile. What's up? What's up, Twitch Mobile? I'm here, yo. I'm here. What's up, Twitch Mobile? Oh, here we go. 7,500. The deuce threes do flop. This is the kind of board that Doug will go ballistic on, which is nice, right? He's got this massive overpair advantage. And he checks, obviously, because set it up. I set it up good.
Maybe he's check raising. He's going to go ballistic, you said. Just betting's not enough.
Olivier, if you were Napoleon in 1809, would you have sold the Louisiana Territory to Jefferson? That is a great question. I really like that question. I'm going to have to go with no. I'm going to go with no. So thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, chat. Sometimes you're nice.
Occam's Razor. What is my chess rating? My USCF rating is like 1530, but honestly, I'm a bit stronger than that. My blitz rating is like between 18 and 1900. I'm saying that now because it's like more like 1800, but it's been 1900. I just changed my openings, and that's like that hurts a little bit. That hurts your rating. But I'm not there for the rating, yo. I'm there for the long haul.
Chat,
how about some poker commentary?
Yo, right? I read that and then I see, Olivier, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Like, chat, you got to get together and decide if you want to ask poker questions or ice cream questions.
All right, let's get into this poker. They're right. I would say he because I'm a sexist pig. They're right. This person is right. Let's get into some poker. It's hard when we can't see the cards. Anybody else feel that way? Am I the only one that feels that way? It's hard when you can't see the cards. It's like, why don't you guys just show us your cards? Like, what are you hiding?
Show us your cards, guys.
What are you guys hiding? What are like? At least show us the little bar that we had where it's like your hand is like ace high or whatever. Then we could like guess the
You
other
know that
card.
Doug did that the
That'd
other
be
day
more
by
fun.
accident.
No,
He
yeah,
was
that's why I'm saying that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Amy.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
I can't assume we're just consuming all this stuff. You're learning chess, you're eating cheese. Like I didn't know you had time to watch this.
What is your favorite table? Clearly the left, because that is the one that has the opportunity for the biggest pot, and I like carnage. I want to see someone in pain. All right, let's like really focus on the poker here.
Okay.
Let's try. Damn,
I'm gonna have to do that after you leave, so I'm like enjoying the chat.
Oh, you got another hour. You got another hour then.
Okay, good. Wow, ASL. I haven't been asked that since AOL chat room times.
Sendrock. Yeah. I'm here for new inner city Olivier, who starts every sentence with a yell. It's really funny.
Wow, Pappy Van Winkle says, "What are the odds that Olivier both Jamie's dogs?" And he says you'll get one, maybe.
Wait, what? I can get one of your dogs? How did I do this?
No, the name. He's asking if you know the names. He
says Crouton and Princess Buttercup. Get off me, yeah.
Yep.
Stop! Don't sweat me. I know the dog questions. I'm all up on these dog questions.
Oh, overbet by D-Negs.
D-Negs, let's go. D-Negs has had enough. You and your overbets. Check me out. There we go. There we go right there. Ace of diamonds, bluff. All you Daniel haters, he's got it in him. He's got it in him. Look at that. The ace of diamonds blocker, 2x pot. So it's actually interesting, right? When you start betting these massive sizes, you run into this similar problem that we were talking about before, which is when you start betting 2x pot, you start restricting your range so much. It's like, do you have a set there? Like, no, like probably not. Like, I'm not saying you don't value bet a set, but you probably don't bet 2x pot with it. You probably just have a flush, and maybe you don't even have that many low flushes. It's like when you start just repping the nuts, again, how often do you just have the ace of diamonds? Like you have it a bunch. And again, what you need is, and this is what Doug obviously has, and when you watch fancy poker videos, you hear people talking about the randomizer, and it's like, ooh, I hit this button and the randomizer told me to do this. And like, yes, that's high level stuff and that's great. Obviously, what you need is the randomizer doesn't tell you what the frequency should be in every spot. So you got to know what your frequency is and then hit the randomizer and then see what you're going to do.
No, that's a good
this
point.
Is a big pot here. It's 30K.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's the turn, which is awesome. Let's go. Oh, check. Man, these guys are so weak. I'm just kidding.
We just saw a 2x pot on the river.
All in. Let's go. All in. All in or go home. Ace jack, bro.
Oh.
Doug with the trap. The ace jack trap.
For what you were saying about randomizers and even stuff like that, I think people who are afraid of them, like rec players who are afraid of them, don't realize it's not just like you press a button, you get an answer. There's a lot of studying. You have to know what you're doing before you can even like approach using these tools.
So it's like, I don't use a randomizer because I don't want the randomizer to tell me what to do. I already know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. Olivier, have I seen your sofa in casting couch videos? I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know what that means. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of Doug's check there. Like, I just don't understand why you would do that. Daniel is not bluffing that much, especially on that type of board, right? Where it's like not obvious what bluffs you choose, right? It's on that all diamond board. It's like incredibly obvious how you pick some bluffs. Ace of diamonds, okay, yeah, very, very easy candidate. King of diamonds, cool. Like those candidates are pretty easy.
Is it just that Doug has everything? The board's like locked. He has ace jack. Like, what is he? Doesn't Daniel have more bluffs then in that?
Sure. No, yeah, that's true. I just mean, if as an exploit, if I'm playing someone I don't think bluffs enough, I just under trap. Even the obvious trap spots, even though I'm just like, no, just value bet, because you're not really losing value from the other side. It's not like he's not bluffing that much, and again, it depends on the spots. Just saying someone doesn't bluff enough is just a bit too simplistic. right? That's part of what I mean. It's like the spots where coming up with the bluffs takes some creativity and it takes some forethought, and you really have to think through it. That's different. And it's like in that spot, we've also seen, but I'm saying it's the combination, right, of not bluffing enough and not value betting thinly enough. So it's that combination where it's just like, yeah, I don't really trap those people so much. But Doug's Doug and he's crushing. So don't listen to me.
Hio MTG wants to know, Olivier, do you have money on this challenge?
I do, not as much as I wanted to, because I'm not like a real gambler. I was just talking to my boy Sam Grafton, and we were both like exchanging stories about how like we have friends who are real gamblers and they just tell us these stories about all this insane money they're gambling, and then they're just like, hey, let me like break you off a little crumb of my bet and you can like take part, just so you feel like you know, like a participatory medal here. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like, I know people who have bet Biden and bet Doug for just like these insane amounts of money, and it's
I
like, I have some money.
I took a crumb of Doug's election bets because we were on the same page with that. And I was like, I'll just like a little crumb of yours, and I'm still like sweating it, like because all these people are still trying to bet. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Also,
Jimmy's in my ear saying it's bullshit. I'm with you, buddy, but you know, this is America right now.
Austin Almighty with the great suggestion. Olivia, you should make a poker OnlyFans where you play poker. I think I know what OnlyFans is, but I'm not really sure.
You are just lying about everything. It's great.
I'm not. I mean, I'm saying I have a sense for what OnlyFans is, but I'm not like.
Yeah, a poker OnlyFans I don't think would perform very well compared to the alternatives on the site.
I don't know. You never know. It's worth trying. All right, monotone board, 3-bet pot. These get checked a lot. They should get checked a lot because the imposition player calling is going to have a higher proportion of suited hands. So they have a higher proportion of nutted hands, and the equities run quite far apart. So it's like, it makes more sense. I mean, you can just bet real small is another option, but I think you should be checking a lot. Bet. Somebody said Daniel's been over bluffing in spots. I actually wouldn't be surprised by that he's been in certain spots been over bluffing, both as a kind of counter to the perception he's been under bluffing, and like I said, because sometimes if you're not value betting thinly enough, it's actually quite easy to overbet, especially if you're not using a method to restrict your options. Because another thing that's so hard about the game, and a lot of people know this, but this is a game really that is based on frequency. It's not really based on hand combo so much. A lot of people focus on the specific hands being used, the hand combinations, but it's much more important to have your frequencies down than to have the, you know, if you choose some of the non-optimal hand combinations, but your frequencies are good or in line, or even exploitatively effective, you'll win. Like you'll crush.
So how do you get to the right frequencies if you're not someone who uses solvers a lot?
I don't know. You gotta use solvers.
Oh, you use okay.
But this is what I would say. No, I don't do that. Right. No. So okay. So from an exploitative point of view, the way that I approach the game when I'm playing against 99% of my opponents, both pros and amateurs, is I'm not as interested in controlling for my frequencies in a theoretical sense, because I think my opponents are unbalanced. So I'm much more interested in thinking, in which direction are they unbalanced and how do I respond to that? So different spots and different opponents and different short-term contextual factors are all at play. But I think in most situations, right, this is something I heard Daniel say, which is so bizarre to me. But he was just asked a question about a spot, and he kind of had a dismissive response of like, well, I think Doug's balanced there. And then again, and then he said, made a general comment. Well, you know, I think generally Doug's pretty balanced. So I'm just trying. It's like, first of all, if you think Doug is balanced, why are you playing him? Like, well, I don't understand.
That's the question everyone wants to know. That's what chat always asks about, and like, I don't know.
But yeah, but okay, but I think Doug is worth playing if you're good, and if you are going to decide to play him, it shouldn't be with the thought that he's balanced. Doug's not balanced. Nobody's balanced. Like, let's get rid of that notion. But Doug is very good, so in certain spots, I'm sure he's somewhat close. But in the games I play with the people I play, these people are not balanced. So when I'm trying to think about my frequencies, sometimes I consider my hands, obviously, and my hands can make certain combos and therefore frequencies more or less likely. But I'm generally like, I make all types of hyper exploitative plays where I'm like, okay, this guy's way over bluffing. So if I think someone's way over bluffing, I don't care what my hand is. I call all my bluff catchers. I just use all my bluff catchers and I just call with them. I'll call king high or ace high. I don't care. And I think if somebody's under bluffing, I just fold all my bluff catchers. I'm just like, good luck, bro. You think you can beat me with this under bluffing strategy? Like, I'm just gonna fold all my hands. And yes, do I open myself up to counters? Yeah, but that's the point of what I'm doing. I don't think my opponents are good enough to be countering me. And if they try to counter me, I think I can recounter them. It's just like a constant game. Like sometimes I've heard Doug be like, I don't want to get into this like pendulum game of like counters and recounters. I do. I want to get into that game because I think I'm good at it. And I think the people I'm playing against aren't that good at it. So if you're trying to be the best heads up player in the world and you're trying to beat Ike and Sauce and shit like that, it's like, yes, okay, I agree. Like you need to be as it's a game of who's better at approximating these types of strategies. But most of us don't play these games, and I think it's more fun and it's more effective to just try to exploit people. Be like, good luck trying to beat me. We missed the big pot.
We missed one
I ranted over a huge pot. I'm sorry, guys.
It wasn't a huge pot. It was just a very cute pot.
It was a cute pot.
You're gonna like this one. All right. I'll let you know what the action was. Chat probably saw it. They're probably mad at us. It was a single raise pot. Daniel on the button. Ace 9-9. Doug check raises. Min check raises. It goes check 400 800 on ace 9-9.
On ace 9-9.
Yeah. Turn ace. Yeah. And Doug had king 9. Ends up winning a 17K pot. But that was adorable.
Wait, how? What did he do on the turn?
The replayer is the worst thing in the history of the world. However, I'll let you know. I like the check 2 big blinds.
Rage played micro stakes and I overfold, but it's not technically overfolding because they always have it. Check call turn.
Yeah.
And then check river.
And then it went check, and Daniel bet like 80% on the ace 9-9 ace queen.
With what?
And with 10-7 of hearts. That hand is what I want to ask Doug about because that's just out of line all over the place. But
well, what's out of line?
Okay, when it goes check and Daniel bets 400 and Doug's like check raise 800 on ace 9-9. Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, what you do when you make that type of play is you force, like when the larger you check raise, the easier it is from one at least vantage point for your opponent to play against you because they can play much tighter. And so when you check raise very small, you force your opponent to take all types of unpaired hands, all types of weak backdraw hands, backdoor hands, and continue with them. So I'm sure 10-7 of hearts, especially if there's a heart on the board, is just an automatic continue to the min raise. And then what you do is you also force them to now play in all these spots. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do when this card comes and that card comes and this action happens? And you make it more complicated for them as opposed to check raising 5x and just letting them fold, or check calling and then letting them
check raising at all is so funny, especially of the min bet, because it did make Daniel spaz. There was no heart on the board. His 10-7 of hearts had very few backdoor outs, and Doug ended up making another 5K from Daniel bluffing river there. So
yeah, but it's not clear to me that that's a spaz. Like Daniel needs to have bluffs there. He should be having bluffs there. He's not going to get a 9 to fold, sure. But I mean, 10-7 of hearts. I mean, I don't know. Given I didn't see the exact action and stuff. I'm sure it's reasonable as a play, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's again, those spots get complicated, and the hands that you choose, and especially the frequencies that you use there, it's hard. I mean, that's part of what makes this game hard is figuring out what to do there. So I think it's good that Daniel's taking shots there. It's just a question of what is the basis of the, why is he taking that shot in that spot, basically.
We gotta get back to the real questions here, though. Simple Mind 22 says, Olivier, when are you fighting Logan Paul?
It's funny actually because I was thinking about that a little bit. But the problem is that Logan Paul is not really a fighter, right? He's a boxer, and I'm not particularly good at boxing. I'm not particularly good at anything, but I'm interested in boxing someone. Like that does not interest me at all. I hate it when people even call them fights. They're not fights. They're matches or whatever. It's like you get close to someone and they're like, stop, guys. You're too close. It's like, okay. It's like, you can't kick the guy. You can't take him to the ground. You can't elbow him in the face. I mean, what is that?
Why even bother? That's how I feel.
Yeah, they're wearing these big balloons on their hands. It's like, if you hit someone, it's like so much padding. I mean, it's not even Yeah, I don't. I'm pretty sure he would just crush me in any sort of boxing competition. It would be much more fun to do something in MMA. But yeah, no real plans right now. Olivier looks like a mix between Manuel. Why you got to include Dan Bilzerian in that? I don't look like Dan Bilzerian at all.
I don't know. I kind of side with the chat on that one.
Not to mention, people don't realize Dan Bilzerian is like 5'7". It's a little dude. Little. It's like Dan Bilzerian was sitting in this chair. He'd be like right here. His head would be right here. He'd be like, yo, what's up? Sorry.
I think you should fight Dan Bilzerian. I would pay money to watch that.
Yeah, so do I. I don't think he wants to fight me though. Upswing poker. Not gonna say that one.
It's really funny. Once you fight someone, you just keep getting like challenged to fights and stuff. Like it's such a different world, and I've never hit someone in my life. Is that weird? That you just like it's on the table for you at all times? Like, hey, do you want to just beat this guy's face in?
I mean that's like a sub, that's like an aspect of one thing that I didn't anticipate, which is that like it's like the lens through which people see me. It's such a big part of now my like identity that I didn't, because like before I did that, I didn't even know who Conor McGregor was. I never watched the sport. I mean, I used to be an asshole and get in fights at bars when I was 20, but that was different. Like I just it wasn't a part of how I saw myself. And now people who don't really know me are like, yo, you want to fight this dude, or you're the guy from the, and I'm like, yeah, that was 4 years ago. You know, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yes. So it's just funny how that's a thing. Or it's like if fighting is like is like a joke, people will like just include me, be like, oh, who should fight this guy? Oh, let's get Olivier to fight. It's like, okay, good one, guys. Good one.
Great. Man,
yo, 14K pot. Let's go.
Sorry.
It's the turn. I assume it went 3-bet, call, bet. Right. Wait, what? Huh? What happened here?
We can replay it after, but chat just
he probably just bet. He probably just whoa. Yo, I feel like Daniel could have a bad session. That's my feeling right now.
That's your feeling?
This session could go really bad. I feel like he's playing a bit faster. He feels a little tilty. He feels like on the edge of tilting. Wait,
man.
did he not? Wait, did he not raise there? Wait, what just happened? Yo, can you replay that?
I'm replaying it, but can you have your replayer too, right? You just gotta snipe it like as soon as the hand is.
I got it. I sniped it.
Got it.
He goes raise, 3-bet, call. Yeah, he bet 3,200 into 8,200 call. Check on the jack, and then he bet 11K. And Doug just called with the king 7 of clubs. Yo, Doug, what was that, bro? That is wild. What was that? How did you just call with the king 7 of clubs? Like when you call with the king 7 of clubs, basically what you're saying is, I think my opponent is so bad that the line he's taken is like full houses or bullshit.
Yeah,
right? That's what you're saying.
This call is what you're saying.
It's not just disrespectful. It's like, yo, you suck. That's what you say. When you call there, you're like, yo, you suck. Or you're like, I'm afraid. But Doug's clearly not afraid, right? Yeah. So you're either afraid or you're claiming that your opponent is trash. That is insane to just call there. Not to mention the jack 7 off is not a particularly high frequency heads up 3-bet. Like, just so we're clear, 150 big blinds deep or whatever, you don't take that jack 7 and randomize it very often. Like, that's wild. That's what I'm saying. D-Negs got, honestly, D-Negs, if he was on the verge of tilting, he's probably less likely to be tilting now because he's able to rationalize to himself, oh, thanks for saving me 30K there or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He's like, wow, in the interview when it happens, Daniel's going to be like, hey, remember that hand? Wow, I felt so good after that hand because I was like, I should have lost the rest of my money, but I didn't because he just called. Man, it's hard to keep up with this chat.
It's so fast. And the thing is, there's YouTube chat also, and that's just like,
oh, there's you. I'm not even on the YouTube chat.
So fast.
I'm sorry, YouTube chat. YouTube chat. My bad.
Yeah, I'll open up later, guys.
I don't have that. I don't have that skill. Okay, people have asked me about Ronda Rousey a bunch. Could you beat Ronda Rousey in MMA while she was at her prime? No, maybe. I don't know. She got clocked like so clean.
Holly Holm crushed her life.
Yeah. Holly Holm would crush me, and Rousey probably would crush me because she would grab me and end me. But if I could just stay away from her and pop her a few times, her boxing was really, really, really bad. But probably not. No, I mean, if she grabbed me, she would end me.
See, I read nice stuff before, so now I'm going to read mean stuff. Scotty Wayne says Jamie looks like she's on a bad date. Brutal. Sorry, Liv.
I don't wait. Oh, I'm sorry too. That was really interesting though, that King 7 call. I'm interested to hear what
similar
what
hand.
did that for.
It was like 3 sessions ago. The last one that I was commentating, where he ended up rivering a boat in a spot where I thought he was trying to get stacks in, and he ended up just calling. Talked about it later, and he was just like pretty much what you were saying. You're just expecting Daniel's range to just be like way too good, I guess, and that he was also not going to be calling very light, so he had to take out some of the hands he thought he'd get value out of versus most opponents.
Yeah, I mean that's really the only idea that makes sense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Daniel with the 3-bet. They're deep here. You have to be a bit more careful when you 3-bet as you get deeper. I think your 3-bet frequency should go down a little bit because the positional disadvantage is just amplified. And we do get a call. And the reverse is true a little bit too from Doug's point of view. He can leverage his positional advantage more so he can play it slightly bit wider, especially if Daniel's not adjusting his frequencies, which I don't know if he is or not. Yeah, I think it's another thing is like on this A7-3 flush draw board. Obviously, you know, it's fine to have checks, but when you start incorporating checks, it's much more complicated game tree, much tougher to play. I think you could just play the spot, betting most of your range, if not all of it, especially if you're willing to use a small size, 20-25%. But we see a check down pot here. Again, the King 7 off as a 3-bet combo is just, I mean, maybe it's an exploit because he thinks Doug is not calling enough. I actually like it if that's the exploit. Using some blockers and using more playable hands, like let's say it's counterpart of King 7 suited, actually seeing a flop and playing it passively, and then taking King 7 off and using it as a 3-bet. I do that sometimes as an exploit against people who are playing too tight, but I mean, that doesn't seem likely to be Doug's issue. So the Jack 7 off and now the King 7 off, that's, yeah, I'm surprised to see those hands.
Have you ever tried playing Zoom or any of the, you're not really getting a versus the same opponents?
Zoom? Oh, like Zoom on Stars?
I don't even know what New Jersey has anymore, but I just know
New Jersey doesn't have it, and New Jersey is just kind of straightforward, sit at the tables and play.
Yeah, so I was gonna say your strategy seems to involve a lot of like adjusting to your opponents and using exploits and not sticking to GTO as much as most people talk about. So I think like Zoom would be your nightmare, kind of.
Why?
Well, because you're just getting hands versus like new opponents. Don't they just switch you like to a new table constantly?
Yeah, but if the Zoom pool is not that big, it's the same. You know, so like if you're playing like 4 tables, you're playing with a lot of the same people. It's more the like whatever ignition sites or the sites where the screen names are anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a nightmare for me.
Chad definitely agrees with you. I just keep seeing how like they're expecting D-Negs to just go off right now, just the wheels to fall off and him to rage. I didn't know that that was in his personality until he did those vlogs this summer and just lost his mind so many times. I'm like, whoa. When you're playing heads up and there's nowhere to hide and you have to just continue playing the next hands and you have that in you to be able to just lose your mind during a session.
But even when he got upset during his streams, it didn't seem like he was playing super differently, right?
Well, the one where he like disconnected, he was just losing his mind. I just can't imagine someone being able to like calm themselves down and play a hand well when you're like ready to break your computer. But I could be wrong. Like maybe it's just not real. But
Yeah, I don't. I think some people are actually okay at disassociating like that. I mean, I agree. It's probably not super common, but I think some people probably are.
Tunnel snake, yes. Something anally feeding someone their teeth. Yep, that was said.
Mm-hmm. Olivier, when you have run bad and felt low, what mental tricks or mantra have you used to stay focused and successful playing? It's a good question. I do a bunch of stuff. If I'm continuing to play and my confidence is low, I use a little trick of pretending I'm giving a lesson and talking my strategy and my reasoning out loud. That helps me make sure that I'm using kind of sound basis for what I'm doing. I actually think it's really, really important that people learn to quit sessions and stop playing and just have a mental, psychological, emotional reset. And if I'm not playing and I'm feeling low from a from a session, I do a lot of things. Sometimes I like indulge in food or something. Going for a walk is great. I have a dog, and going for walks is really helpful. Being outside. Music is good. I like laughing is great. Stand-up comedy. I do some stuff like that. I just figure out like small little pleasures that you have, and just go with them. Make yourself happy a little bit, and connect with people. Socializing is good. Something that takes away from your mind. Also, just try to focus on being a bit less self-centered. Like when you're low about the way poker's going, it's a bit almost self-indulgent, I feel, for me personally. So connect to someone, talk to someone, do something for someone else. Just create a dynamic where you're not as much the center, and that helps you forget about it, gain perspective, and just like not care as much. Because ultimately, I mean, it's just money or whatever. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. It feels, I think, like a bigger deal than it is. So it's just about tricking yourself, like you said, trick. It's about tricking yourself into like getting the right frame of mind.
Were you the one who said you put post-its that were like this won't affect anything, like your one session can't really matter, just reminding yourself?
I don't have post-its anymore, but I did. That was one of my post-its. It was I think what it said was, did what just happened actually change anything? And the answer is like basically always no.
Unless you're playing too big, and that's a problem in
Yeah,
itself.
yeah. If the answer is yes, I mean, sometimes you're playing a tournament and
Mhm.
and you're playing for, yeah, but that's not an experience I really have online. But in general, yeah, it's just a way of trying to keep perspective. I get very invested in my sessions, in the hands I play. I end up caring probably more than I should, but I don't. The part of me doesn't mind because it's part of what fuels me and motivates me, and I still love to play after all these years, and I still have that fire. So I don't want to get rid of that fire. I just want the pain of losing to be really short lived and to not affect my play, basically. Because we're all going to lose. I mean, that's obviously the nature of the game. You just have to learn to deal with it, accept it, um, and be able to maintain your A game um, for as long as possible. I also don't play super long sessions. I don't think that's smart. I tend not to play longer than 2 to 3 hour sessions. Normally, I play 90 to 120-minute sessions, and I feel like I'm pretty good at maintaining a high level of play for that time. And I just really want to avoid drop off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got a 3-bet here from Daniel. Let's get some action. Let's analyze some hands. I know people want some analysis.
Doug says let's make it 4 bets and a flat.
obviously any 4-bet flop that has an ace or a king in it is going to be particularly good for the 4-better. So you're going to see a real high frequency of betting. 9-10 gets there with the jack. King jack gets there. Jack 8 and Jack 7 are not really hands that either player are going to have very much.
See, chat, you got to decide, because every time we start talking about poker, you guys want to know if sim, you want to know about cheese, about fighting, you know? You guys really have to get on the same page.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm sure there's some variety in the chat, so some people want some things and other people want others. But Doug does go with the jam there, which is it's an interesting play because there aren't that many natural bluffs there. Hands like ace queen and ace 10 can be in there a little bit. And I guess a king is kind of forced to call, so you get to kind of cooler a king with a hand like ace king. But I would expect a smaller bet there rather than that jam on that particular texture. D-next with the 4-bet on the 3-bet on the left. We don't get a call. Always interesting when we get this deep though.
Yeah.
3-bet pots in particular, 3 and 4-bet pots get really, really interesting. Again, we have a 3-bet pot from, I guess, Doug 3-bet and then checked, and Daniel's using this small bet size. Small bet size makes some sense. You don't have that many nutted hands in that spot. And I think Doug is going to have a mix of medium strength and give ups. So you really just get to win from the give ups a lot with the small bet. So I think that's a good play by Daniel. But you do see, I feel like maybe it's just short term, but the 3-bet frequency seems to be a little higher. A bunch more 3-bets, 3-bet pots. We got another one here on the right. Another board, king, queen, deuce. I mean, just another board where the 3-better has a big advantage, and these guys are checking a lot of these boards. It's not really my approach, but obviously I'm sure it's solver approved. The queen normally turning would be in a spot that was bet called would be a much better card for Doug. In a check spot, relatively neutral card, maybe slightly better for Daniel. He's going to have a reasonable amount of queens that he checks after 3-betting.
Chop pot, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not. I mean, again, the 8-4 suited is. I mean, it's another hand that is just not high frequency 3-bet. 8-4 suited is actually a very high frequency 4-bet, but it's not a high frequency 3-bet. And then in that spot, I mean, yeah, that's just a weak way to play the hand. I think maybe sometimes you're going to have some non-showdown that are played like that, but in general, I think it's good to take. You got to take shots, I think, in those types of spots.
Yeah, D-Neg's never trying to win that. Is it just that he's a little bit baffled by Doug not c-betting there and then not betting turns? He's just running out of time.
Well, D-Negs is the 1-3-bet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you see this sometimes where it's just people just like they don't have that much equity, and they're just like, okay, not betting the flop. The turns just like, okay, not great. And then the river feels like, okay, all the ace highs are going to call since Doug hasn't tried to take a shot. He's a lot of times he's going to have ace high. Yeah, exactly. And but I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, these guys are obviously playing at a high level, but I rarely play hands like that. I almost always am trying to win that pot at some point in the hand. And you're going to have a bunch of value bets. You should have a bunch of value bets when you play that way. And you can value bet ace high yourself. I mean, you can, especially if you're incorporating blocking bets. I mean, when you have 8 high, like you really want, I mean, I guess he had the board at the end, so it doesn't really matter what his hand is, but Yeah, I don't know. I would definitely go for that spot. But it is, I mean, I really am seeing a real trend in the nature of the showdowns from Daniel in his three bet range. It's quite different from what I think is a traditional heads up three bet range. A lot more kind of trash hands. And if I was Doug and I saw that, I'd be four betting at a much higher frequency. Because it's like you can't, like, that's part of the reason that we were talking about earlier, where you see a kind of almost counterintuitive number or frequency of four bets being called because of the nature of the linear nature of the range that is being three bet. But if you're throwing in these trash hands as three bets, well, now you can four bet very, very effectively, because what can they do? What's Daniel going to do with king seven off and jack seven off and 8-4 suited to the four bet? He's got to fold. So you can even four bet a bit smaller, and you can just up the frequency, and you can polarize. I mean, four bet ranges are already polarized, but yeah. Another thing though, if I was like, if you're Doug, I think one of the kind of meta dynamics is that, like, you're crushing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're doing is working. And so you're very happy with the way things are going, and you're more or less very happy to have them continue going like this. So you're much less motivated to try to look for extra spots to exploit or to create larger edge. And it feels much more like a risk that you'll get counter exploited or that you'll make a mistake. Like, you don't feel any pressure to change anything because things are going very well. So I think
what you're saying is that he could be winning at a higher rate.
No, that's the thing. I'm saying I understand the motivation for Doug not to try to change much. I think it makes a lot of sense given the way things are going, given his confidence level. He's just cruising. So, I mean, yeah, I would never, not never, but I would be very careful in trying to, like, second guess, like, Doug's approach. Like, he's the man. Obviously, I think Daniel's playing, well as well. But, like, if you're winning and really winning, again, I would love to see what the actual win rate is based on the number of hands they've played. But I think it's pretty high. Like, he's not barely winning. I mean, he's really winning by a lot. So, like, I don't really need to change much. It's working what you're doing. Now, all in EV, blah blah blah. But I think it's clear that there's a real edge here.
That's why I'm surprised that Daniel in an interview said he wanted to play the whole thing. I mean, that's a big commitment. They might be playing till February or March. And if Doug is, let's say that all in EV, Doug's massively, like, winning more than he should. He's still winning at such a high rate that, like, you'd think that you'd want to leave it as, like, something you could back out of if you wanted to, if you're Daniel, right?
Well,
like, I'm just so shocked he said that in an interview. That's great news for everyone who's watching.
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, like, if you buy that, I mean, not buy, I mean, I think it's clear that the all-in EV is what it is. So Daniel has been running badly in all-in EV. And then Daniel cited a number of other spots, situations, dynamics where maybe he's running
Some of
badly.
them are a little,
getting
like,
folded,
I
getting
got
aces.
folded to when I had aces. It's like,
Right. But I mean, if the general perception that you have is that you're running badly, combined with you're improving very quickly, then
okay.
I
Then it
think
makes
I think
sense.
yeah,
Like,
then I think that's a completely legitimate idea. I think also, like, we have to try to take on Daniel's point of view, right? So this is the point of view of someone who was willing to take this challenge on in the first place. So he's already obviously rating himself high, rating the gap between them somewhat low. So, like, from that point of view, if you combine those other factors, I think it makes sense. And obviously, we've talked about, I think he's getting some extra odds from Perkins to continue playing.
Sponsor's probably happy that he's playing it and getting attention. So,
Yeah. And also, like, I actually made this point when you were not here, but it's like, no matter what happens in the challenge, Daniel's going to be a lot better than he was when he started. Like, he's improving a lot, and it's not like heads up is so different from the rest of poker that he's not going to be able to apply some of these concepts. He's just getting better at poker. And that's what he does for a living, and that's what he loves. He's been doing his whole life. So, I mean,
and so, like, achievement oriented. So if this helps him win a bracelet instead of coming in second at some point, if his heads up game is just better,
totally.
I'm sure it'll be worth it, even if he loses a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some inflection point at which the money becomes a lot. But if you're running badly and you're improving, then you expect the money not to be as bad. I think though that I think most people are underestimating the edge difference and how persistent the edge difference will be. I think even as Daniel improves, Doug will not necessarily improve objectively, but he will, I think, be able to maintain his edge pretty reasonably. Is my
and maybe
expectation.
make adjustments specifically to Daniel that like
Absolutely.
negate the learning that Daniel's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not like, I think some people sometimes they view it as just this like linear dynamic where you just kind of move up the rung. It's much more complicated than that, much more dynamic than that. But huge pot here. I think it was 4-bet and then bet. And on this, like, paired board, especially with 2 kings on the board, this sizing I think makes a lot of sense from Daniel. He can go for some thin value with queens, maybe even a jack X here. Yeah, tens is close too. Tens versus nines is, I think, a very, very well played hand from Daniel there.
Yeah,
like,
that was
really,
a nice bet.
really well played hand. I think especially when you're a little deeper like that, tens feels like a, ooh, what do I do if he jams here? Oh my God, it's like, oh my God, do I really want to do it? But you really are able to get a lot of value from calls, and his ability to squeak out a little extra value on the turn. Like, yeah, just really, really well played. And I think part of the turn bet is a function of the small flop bet. The small flop bet forces a number of weaker hands to stay in and allows you to get value from the stronger part of that weaker range on the turn. So yeah, a well played hand from Daniel. Obviously, you see that Doug has 2 nines, and it's just like, oh man, he just got the max value from the one hand below him. But yeah, nice hand.
Mm-hmm. Jay Farber's in the chat. What's up, buddy? He says, I'll bet that Doug increases his win over the course of the challenge. That's actually a cool bet. At 12.5k hands, we should bet something on that, because I think that's pretty interesting. It's like basically betting who's going to improve versus the other over.
But is he saying that he'll win at a higher win rate, or like right now, if Doug is up 600k at the end, the profit number will be more than 600k?
I would have thought that it means like on the back half that he will have won more money than the front half. Would be like my guess.
That's a super aggressive bet. I wonder. I doubt that's what he means. Also, because at the end, if like it's
Have you met Jay Farber?
No, okay, I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't know him well enough to have that type of specific read.
Well, I just feel like a super aggressive bet fits his personality.
Okay, yeah, I don't know enough there, but yeah, I read it a bit differently. That he was like, let's start back at 0 and see who wins. But maybe that's actually too easy of a bet too. Maybe you can clarify for us. All right, I got 20 more minutes, guys. I'm going to do my best. Stay focused.
We already found out all this stuff about you. Thanks, chat. That was fun.
Chat's like, hey, tell us about yourself. And it's like, fuck you. This isn't about you. It's like,
that's good. I think Twitch chat's like very good for like humbling you a little bit. If you're ever feeling pretty good about yourself, they're like, here, let me tell you what we really think.
Good. That was good. I mean, they're right too. I mean, we're here to watch these guys.
Yeah.
Play cardless poker.
Yeah, but then after commentating with no cards, it just feels like such a treat. When you actually see cards, you're like, oh my God, there's a thing to talk about.
Yeah, you're like, is this fair?
Yeah.
Range bets. I like that nickname. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I really thought it was going to be a nice comment. I'm like, oh. Don't ever change, chat. Rhymes with Orange says, if I could go back to a certain time and start playing poker, when would it be with my current knowledge? Well, it's probably a more complicated answer than Liv would give, because I don't think I'd want to be playing poker in like the 1980s where they'd be like, woman, go fix me a drink, like that kind of thing. But probably like 2000 would be a nice time to play.
That was a great impression of the 1980s.
Well, I feel like the poker rooms are like extra seedy compared to the rest of society.
Go fix me a drink.
Yeah. 2,000 would be fun though. Just knowing like how much money there was to be won if you just put in a little bit more effort than other people. Fun.
Jay Farber, fetch me a sandwich, Jamie.
Oh, Farber.
Here we go.
4-bet by Dougie.
Larger sizing. Daniel's like, uncle. Daniel cries uncle. Gives it up.
There's a lot of value in adding that extra like 1K or 1,500 4-bet size then if you're going to get through more. Or at all. Because I feel like 4-bets haven't been getting through very much at all. So.
Yeah, I think it's also the nature of the deeper stack sizes.
Yeah, for sure.
Show. Yeah, I don't know how to say this name. Stellar and Bula says that I should recommend some questions for you to ask Doug at the interview.
I wrote a couple things down that you said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think if I were to ask him anything, it would be about the King 7 of clubs hand, but I'm sure he's going to say something close to what we said. And just, I guess, just like what his view. I mean, I guess it's hard, right? Because Doug is he's open, but he's not going to like. Much.
He shares a fair amount, but yeah, I mean, the surface level of the questions I'm going to be asking, I think will get answered. I feel like if you stick around and ask him all these like deeper questions, he's going to shower you.
Yeah, I don't like getting showered by Doug. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Olivier, what would you say the best thing to work on first in your game is if you're an intermediate player and can hold your own in a 500 max buy-in, love, no limit game today? I assume that means live, no limit game today. First thing to work on. I would focus on thin value betting, really getting the most out of your hands. I would focus on distinguishing spots where your opponents are under and over bluffing. So like a common over bluff spot would be like you're playing against a loose big blind and they call a flop C bet on queen 9-5 and it comes like deuce deuce and then they bet.
I gotta pause you real quick just because never mind, go on.
Oh, that was a huge pot.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Dougie Fresh.
Oh, Dougie Fresh. My bad, guys. So hard, guys. It seems easy because Jamie is such a pro, but it's hard.
Oh, such a pro.
The chat and the hands. Anyway, so yeah, like spots where people just have where they're like where they're not check raising enough and they're continuing with too many weak hands, or when they value bet or when they bet in a spot where they don't have enough value bets, so it's very easy for them to be over bluffing. And then spots. The converse are spots where people are it's hard for people to find natural bluffs, like where the bluffs that make sense are pairs turned into bluffs or pairs plus certain blockers or whatever. Those are probably spots you want to be over folding. So yeah, you don't want to, a lot of those games you don't want to be paying off because especially in big pots, I think people underbluff a lot in big pots. But yeah, I think the main thing to focus on is trying to get the most value out of your good hands. Extracting value is very, very important at mid stakes.
Yeah, and you've had some interesting things to say with specific hands this session so far. With there's more reasons than just the value you're going to obtain.
Yeah.
It just makes you a lot harder to play against.
Yeah, I actually think that's really important in terms of the way hands relate to one another. Is that like a lot of times people try to evaluate a hand in a vacuum. They're just like, here's the hand history. What should I do? Mm-hmm. And the truth is, like, yeah, if you're playing, okay, we got another big pot here on the left. This was, I wonder how we got here. 10-5 on the turn. Check raise small bet? Did he check raise the flop and then bet small here? That's interesting.
Find out.
Oh, did I miss it?
That one was 3-bet pre.
It was 3-bet pre and then bet really small.
I'll bet Doug and call, and then
How
Doug
small was that bet? He bet really small, right?
1,500 into a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't even know.
The high IQ. Can we stop talking about poker and get back to reading the chat, please? Soon, when Liv has to go pick up his doggy, I'll pretty much just be reading chat with you guys. So, any questions you have, anything you want to know about Liv, I'll just make it up. So you could ask me that too.
Cool. I'm excited for that. Lapping poker with some single cream brie because he's a basic bitch. Bro, you got to step your game up. Will you bring the dog on camera? I don't know if that was to me. If that was to me, unfortunately, my pup is at daycare.
Tell.
Jamie could.
It's hard to see Crouton because he's in the dark.
I can see Crouton in the dark there. Hi, Crouton. Come say hi.
He's a good boy.
Oh my God, what a good boy.
He's a grind dog. He'll sit here the whole time I'm podcasting or streaming. He's a good boy.
Watching a stream to learn poker is like watching porn to learn about relationships.
So you're saying it's a really good idea?
Olivier has a poodle. I can guarantee it. I do not have a poodle. I have nothing against poodles. My baby, her name is Sophia, and she's a German short-haired pointer. She's a hunting dog, beautiful dog, very smart, athletic, sleek, very regal looking. She's my princess. She's my girl.
You got a king high win over here, Dougie. Let's look at that one. I know what, I don't call him Dougie in real life. So it was a raised 3-bet by DNegs. DNegs continues for 2K and called. Wow. So like, just check though. 12K pot though with king high. DNegs just stopped putting the pressure on Doug and let him take.
Yeah, I mean, I think that hands is like fine. It's just so easy for Doug, So you got the nut king, got a small bet on the paired board with the ace. Like, yeah, you got to call, and then no more pressure. But at the same time, like, he's gonna have some ace X that he checks back there too, and maybe some other hands that end up calling if he has king jack or something. And so you can't just like bet all your trash if you're Daniel too. So again, it's just a lot of these spots, they come down to how you choose like which hands and spots that you go for. And so, we've already talked about Doug and the idea of using a randomizer, and obviously that makes sense. And, maybe Daniel's doing that too. I don't even know. Has he talked about using a randomizer? I think probably he has.
I'm assuming he does. He's learning from some good players, and I'm sure.
Is he though? I'm sorry. I don't know enough.
You can say whatever you want.
Shots fired. No, I don't know enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. One thing I will say is, Doug gives them some credit that Daniel went from not playing heads up ever to like being decent at heads up, like, and that's pretty impressive having a month. So those coaches have to be doing something right. You can disagree. Yeah. You're like
me. Well, I just, it's just hard. I think it's hard to tell the level that Daniel is at from just watching this challenge. It's hard to tell how good Daniel was at the beginning. We don't really have that much marker of his improvement. Daniel has been playing poker his fucking like whole life. He's been successful in like every form of poker that he's ever tried. Daniel's obviously a talented guy, smart guy. So like, yeah, it's just, I think it's a question. It's a kind of variable. It's very, very hard to isolate and quantify in some way. So I don't know. Like, it's just hard to tell.
Wow, Crux in the chat. What's up, buddy? Apotheos.
Wow.
Wow, you gotta get in this.
Now I'm nervous. Now I gotta live up. I gotta live up to Crux.
I can't be nervous around Crux anymore. I sent him some hand histories that were just total trash piles, and he's always very nice about it.
Yo, if you guys don't have a Run It Once account, you should get it just so you can watch Chris Crux videos.
Wrong stream for that.
He's the best. He's great. I mean, I like Sauce too, but Crux does tournament videos, and he's the man. Olivia, do you think higher rake is better? I mean, if it gets pros to stop playing, like I'm all for it, basically. You know what I'm saying? clip that. You can use it and reuse it if you want.
Occam's Razor says, show the dog. I agree. But he just stepped out for a moment. So maybe later.
Upswing Poker. Who is this guy? Good question. Who am I? Who are you? What is self? Who are any of us?
That would be an interesting idea, to just do a tiny bit of shrooms before the stream and just see what happens. You would be having those conversations with chat. You'd be on the right level for them.
I tried to give 1K value here and nobody took it. Olivier was decent player on full tilt, heads up, sit and goes, nothing else. Fair. That's a fair description. Stars too, though. Come on. I did all right on stars. Oh, I forgot that I was promoting. My bad.
I was like, wrong.
My bad, Upswing. My bad. Yo, sometimes I forget what I'm doing. Thankfully, I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah, I'd say Liv is donating his time because he's awesome friend. And
no, I was like, no, don't pay me because I want to be able to say stupid shit and have my own. I don't want to be beholden to anyone or anything. I want to be able to just speak my mind freely. I'm a free, independent thinker. No one can tell me what to say.
I mean, we
but
could
yeah,
just
sorry about that. Sorry about that. I didn't really think enough long term. My bad. Okay, we got some money in this pot. Let's go, Doug. Let's make it interesting. It's not about me. This is about the poker, guys. This is about the poker. All right, D-Negs. Last shot to make this a cool hand. Wow.
I want to see the cards.
Yeah, I mean that's probably gonna get, you're probably gonna get called there by that hand, so maybe he feels good about that. You're beholden to your dog. Honestly, like that's very true. That is very true. Yeah, that's true. You should see the way we sleep. She like lays herself out and takes up 70% of the bed, and I'm like struggling to get the cover over me, and it's like cold, and I'm like, oh, Sophia, please move, and she's just like kicks me and shit. She's like, yo, get out of here. Jamie, low-key stunner.
Oh,
that's very sweet. What does on the line mean? People just said you're on the line.
I don't know what that means.
Educate us, guys. And if it's appropriate.
I'll read it regardless. It's fine.
Be careful. We're at 750K plus, boys. Profit is profit. Yo, profit is profit. Honestly, that's true. Is that true? Can we get these numbers? Oh, I can't see it. Can you? What is the number for the session?
You don't have like you're just looking at chat. It's Doug's up 90K.
Right, Doug's up 90K?
Mm-hmm. He was quietly just winning like 20K at a time while we were.
Man, that would have been easier for me to know if I was paying better attention.
Now he's up 94K or 92K.
It's funny too, like 25,000 hands, it sounds like a lot, and maybe people have said this. It's not that many hands. I play more hands than that every single month. Like it's not that many hands.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not that much. I don't even play that much.
It's a lot when it's like these sessions are chopped so short. I think though they've been going longer because of that. They don't want it to be like something they're thinking about in 2022.
Yeah, but also it like, it's like everything is, the amount of money is just so big. Yeah. You know, it's like, yeah, he's up whatever, 700K, which is what, 18 buy-ins or something? I mean, okay, yeah, 18 buy-ins is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, 18 buy-ins is kind of a lot. Actually, you know what? 18 buy-ins is a lot. My bad. I'm gonna take back what I said. Yeah, if homeboy wins like 50 buy-ins, like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, and it's all these short sessions. It's got to be enjoyable for Doug. I would love to play a couple hours, like, you know, a couple hours.
Can we have Brady back, please? Yo, Brady's the man. But honestly, I think Brady needs a break sometimes. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not the best replacement, but But Brady needs to like do his own thing a little bit.
Yeah, when it's 3 or 4 days a week, like Brady has a life too, and we're giving him a break.
Stan Tomato Man, Olivier, nice tennis bag. How's your game? My game's all right. I'm like a strong 4-5, like a weak 5-0. I can play. I love tennis. Play once or twice a week. It's a great game. Does Doug have 100% of his action? Honestly, pretty confident Doug has significantly more than 100% of his action.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he did end up making bets. I think it was even after the match started. Perkins wanted to just get money in there. And huge raise by Doug here on the right.
Yeah, that is a big raise. Man, Doug doing work. 5-0 USTA. I doubt it unless you played college. Wow. If somebody wants to make a bet, if somebody wants to make a bet, I am happy. I am happy to make that bet.
Did you get better at tennis like after you played later?
Oh yeah. No, I took like a few years and had lessons like once or twice a week and went pretty hard. And yeah, I've been playing tennis my whole life, but just didn't compete for long. But no, 5-0 is right around my level, and I'm willing to back that up with some cash if somebody wants to do it. All right, we got 12-5 in the pot, fourth spade on the river. Small bet, which
that's weird. Small bet in position is kind of weird, isn't it?
Yes, you're opening up the betting, and you're not doing it with the expectation of that much value. You're taking a real risk, and you got to try to, be careful with that spot. I don't really do that stuff. I don't do that in position block stuff. I think it actually works. I was watching this WPT. I forget what it was. It's like a couple years ago, and this dude was like betting like 15% pot in position with like just always the same super thin fourth pair and just getting called over and over. And I was like, yo, this guy's a genius. Cause the big part of the reason people don't do it is because you open yourself up to like check raises and people attack you and stuff. But it's like, if you're playing against people who don't do that, like I think really, I was like, I learned something from this dude. I forget who it was, and I don't want to call him out, but I was like, oh wow, that's cool. Like he's like, yo, good luck trying to beat this. And he's just like, here, call me. I'll bet 10% of the pot. Just get me a little extra chips.
Against someone like Doug, like you might induce some spazzing here and there. So
yeah, but you're also going to induce a lot of stuff you don't want.
For sure.
Yeah. Doug is. You don't want to play with that. How did you talk Elke into fighting you? That wasn't me. That was a different thing.
Elke fought someone too. Why are all these guys fighting?
It was Elke and Lex Velhus had a kickboxing match. This was
that's pretty cool.
This was years ago, and I think Lex won with a head kicked. I think he head kicked him for the KO. I think something like that, or anyway. It was.
Oh wait, look at the right. This is like a similar to the Ace 9-9 before, where it went one big blind check raise to two big blinds, but hand over.
What was the board?
That one was Ace 6-6, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, same texture.
It's the same texture. Yep.
I was actually playing a guy today who's like good and studies a lot, and he did that on the paired board, something very similar, not an actual min raise, but very, very close. I gave him 3-bet one time just to be like, where you at? And he folded, which is nice. And but yeah, I guess it's a thing. See, it's interesting. It's also funny how in poker you see these things like it's like they start somewhere. It's like someone's discovered something in a solver. They start it went up, and then you just see it like go through the poker world, and you see different people. But it's just funny. It's funny. I think Doug did something like that once.
Has never reached the poker world, like bluffing rivers. Just that still hasn't reached anyone's poker game. Yeah. Anytime I'm calling, I'm just against the nuts. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the environment, and like tournaments are different too from cash games. But yeah, I don't know. Fold more. Have better hands, Jamie.
It's impossible. I just start with aces every time.
Oh, we got two pots. Let's go. Ace 9. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna win. Yeah. How did that hand play the Ace 9? That went. Did he 3-bet the Ace 9? No. Yeah, I guess they're deep. Yeah, Ace 9 off is like the exact a great example of the kind of hand that you 3-bet much more often 100 blinds deep than you do 200 blinds deep. So that makes sense. Kush Grower 303. Olivier could talk about himself all day.
We're asking him. Well, I'm reading you questions from the chat where they're asking.
That's amazing. Yo, honestly, I mean, I'm sorry. That's true. It's funny.
You're answering their questions.
No, it's a great comment. I enjoy that. That was good. That was good. All right, 7:31. Unfortunately, I have to go, y'all. I got to go pick up Sophia and live my life. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Jamie, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. That was very fun. Thank you, chat, for the absurd questions. They were funny too.
I appreciate it. See you later, guys.
All right. Thanks, Liv.
Bye.
Bye. Got a big pot brewing on the right, 8,200. Let's check the D-negs. It's going to bet about 1/3 pot. Yeah, guys, thanks for the questions. That made it the first 2 hours very fun. There's a lot that I couldn't read on stream, but those are funny too. Yep. Jimmy, the producer in my ear. Yeah, Liv. So it's just me in the chat now. I'm a little bit scared. But a nice pot for Dean eggs with a pair of aces. So Doug's up about 90K this match. And it was in a lot of very small pots, it seemed like. There wasn't that huge confrontation pre-flop that we've seen in other matches. So just quietly dominating. Jimmy's adjusting the cam for me. Thank you, buddy. Oh, yay, Brady's on his way. You guys see you're clamoring for Brady and you're... Oh, you... I'm not used to Jimmy trolling me, but yeah, Jimmy and we have a fake Mike Brady. Sorry, guys. That's great. Mick Het says, Doug doesn't do anything quietly. Fair point. Not a quiet man. D-Neg's taking down a couple small pots. Wow, Boosted B14 says, Mike Brady or we mutiny. What does that mean? You just leave chat, or is there going to be some, like, something I don't even know about? Building a big pot here on the left, where D-Neg c-bet about 3/4 pot, and he'll take it down on the turn. And we're going to have a chop pot on the right. Baseboy4 says, if I just say could make sense every 30 seconds, it'll feel like the right thing. I was watching the stream you're talking about, though, and everything that K-Rab says makes sense. And so Brady's just a very nice guy, so he just kept saying makes sense. Very agreeable. Doug taking down a 7K pot on the left. So let's hear from the chat. We haven't asked you any questions. What do you think the grand total will be tonight? Do you think that Doug or Daniel will win? And what do you think the number is going to be? Farber says, need more Nick Schulman. I agree. I feel like Nick Schulman should just do every single stream, but he's too laid back to ever agree to that. I think he'll be doing high stakes poker stuff on PokerGo, but I'm not 100% on that. Who would I want to play heads up? Someone very rich and very terrible. Anyone like that. Although I would like to play Bilzerian. I think that would be really fun. I'd probably want to study or get coached first because I think he's played big for a while. I have no idea about his game. I don't know anyone who's played. That would be a fun heads up match. D-Nags on the left, bidding about 3/4. Getting called by Doug. Nice value bet with the top pair. We got spoiled a couple streams ago with Doug's whole cards, especially when he didn't realize he was showing his cards with the little print on the side. We got to see actually a lot about how he was playing for about an hour there, and we're back in the dark. Sublime says someone rich and someone bad. Proceeds to name exactly the right person. Oh, me versus Perkins? That wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I just think Perkins is kind of like a fun person, so it would be fun to play him. But I wouldn't like particularly revel in beating him, whereas if I beat Bilzerian, I'd be super happy about it. Got Daniel on the right, betting about 40% on the 4-liner in position. And Doug making the call as the board pairs on the river. Doug's going to take down $3,500 pot with trip jacks. Daniel making trip sixes on the river, getting paid off on the left. Preferred Ferd said, have you said why you chose him as your WSOP screen name? I am really big into irony and sarcasm and all that. So I just thought it would be very funny because when there still was chat on WSOP, people would say, oh, your name's Dan Bilzerian, you're such a fanboy and all this. They just automatically assume I'm a dude. There's irony in it because guys make their screen names female names, so people think they're playing a girl because they think girls are bad. So I don't know. There's some levels to it. On the right, we got Doug putting in an 11K 4-bet and getting it through. Hayo asked me what stakes I play. I'm a tournament player online, and I play 2-5 or 5-10 live. Occasionally playing way over my head when there's Poker Night in America or Poker Go has a good lineup. On the right here, we see Daniel taking this small c-bet as we've seen him do on monotone boards. And on the left, Daniel rivering 2-paired. It's been running good on the left table lately. Some fortunate river cards that Doug's been paying off. Doug getting paid with a nice value bet with a pair of 10s on the right for a $7,300 pot. Go, go, PHS, go, A. It says, is there any legitimacy of the reversal of the Wire Act coming? Not that I've heard of. Don't really know. It seems like online poker is going to be state by state for a while until they link up. And I haven't heard any really big news on that front in quite a while. I know there are certain states that are very close to getting it done, which is really cool, but I don't think we're going to get that huge boom where, the federal government says that we're going to reinterpret this Wire Act again and online poker is legal. I'm not holding out hopes for that anymore. Doug on the right, over betting the King 9-8. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Crouton's commentating with me. We should get a Crouton cam. Just watch what he does all day. Interesting turn card on the right over here. Just the board is so wet. Doug had overbet this flop, so I'm not sure if, and he's gonna bet full pot on the turn as well. So nice hand, Dougie. Atlantic Sea Phil's asked this a couple times. How do I begin using Solvers? Is it a phone app, computer program? Which ones? You can use Pio Solver or Pio Solver, whichever way you pronounce it. It's a computer program. Takes up a lot of, I don't know anything about tech. I'm not going to even fake it. But yeah, it's an expensive program. Something you could do before purchasing it yourself is take upswing courses. There's a little bit of there's courses that will help you with some of the tech behind all this, and it's hard to just jump right into solvers if you don't have like a good foundation in poker first. So upswing's a good place to start. Daniel taking down a 12K pot with a pair of jacks on the left. I like that Lapin and Jay Farber are just trolling me back and forth in the chat. I'm not going to give you guys the satisfaction of answering your questions. Rippler Leroy says, Mike is loving the shill so much. I got a shill when Mike's not here. I'm doing him a favor. He's VP of Upswing. He's taking his little break. No, but I'm not just shilling. I did take the lab, and I've taken some courses on Upswing, and it's a good site, and it's well worth the money. So on the left, you see Daniel making a one big blind bet in position, getting check raised by Doug. And Daniel running really good on the left table here, where you just show down 10s for a decent pot. Where Doug made a pair of 9s on the turn. The idea of a Tinder for poker players would be very disappointing for most males. There are not many women in poker. Clotho ball, that is just for FMK that it's not a good lineup that you're giving me there. Bilzerian, Dean Eggs, and I'm going to pass on that question. But on the right here, we see Doug making a 2/3 bet into Daniel in position on the river. And also taking down a 12K pot on the left. Let me see that one. Went single raise pre. Check, bet, call. Check, check. And then Doug picked off Daniel's missed open-ender with a pair of 8s, 2 pairs, 8s, and jacks. We have a 4-bet on the right. Doug elects to call. We got a 22K pot on the king jack deuce. Daniel makes his 20% sizing. I feel like this has been pretty consistent with 4-bet pots. This is the size he's been taking on almost every texture. Doug calls and a 9 of clubs on the turn, putting a flush draw out there. I've seen Doug with some of his 4-bets that he's flat. He's had things in the range of like queen, jack, queen 10, stuff like that. So this board might actually be decent for him. Might just be me being hopeful that my friend wins the pot. And he does have the queen jack for the win. So 30K pot going in Doug's direction there. Daniel gets right back on the horse and 3-bets the very next hand. Thank you, Occam's Razor says that Crouton is the best co-host. I have thoroughly enjoyed every co-host that I've worked with so far, but I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. Never disagrees with me. He's very cute. Daniel with a healthy size bet here, about 3/4 pot, leaving himself just 20K behind. And takes it down. Doesn't it seem like they get warmed up and then every pot is big at the end of the session? Like the first hour is always just very under control. And I know it shouldn't be like that, that their ranges are the same throughout the whole thing, but I don't know. There's some sense of urgency after the 2 hours is up where I just feel like it's big pot on both tables for the rest of the session. Looking at a 13K pot as the flush comes in on the left. Shulman and I discussed this, that whenever Doug's bar is counting down, you just expect the most aggro option to come out after, and he does. He just goes for about 1.4 pot, and Daniel makes the call, and Doug gets caught. Young man speeding with the jack-8 of diamonds for the absolute nothing. And Daniel makes call with ace-king for a pair of kings. Hand in the cookie jar. Oh yeah, I didn't even check. Has this channel gotten their emotes yet? I know that that is something that is going to be worked on. Looks like maybe not yet. But I think Hand in the Cookie Jar has got to make its way onto the list. Crouton can read the Twitch chat. That's a cute comment, but you know, you guys are. He can read it. He won't be hurt. Mando says, "Can I give my top 3 poker commentary phrases?" Well, I say like way too much. I notice anytime that I rewatch a stream where I want to work on it, it's terrible. Trying to stop. I don't think I have any catchphrases. I'm not Norman Chad, where it's, you know, an ex-wife joke or Bazam or Wamboo, people say. Maybe you guys can make a couple up for me and I'll just start saying it incessantly so I have a little tagline. So DNEG's sitting out on the right now, but they didn't do that. So I don't think that means it's the end of the match. It's probably just a pee break. And on the left, we have DNEG's in position betting 3/4 pot as the flush comes in. And it was a value bet with a pair of aces. So Daniel's doing really well table on the left, and it should be slightly evening out what was looking like it was going to be a bloodbath for a minute. It's going to be about 50K going to the short break. Jimmy, if you were saying something in my ear, I didn't quite. Oh, I heard your audio for 1 second. I didn't know if you were trying to reach to me or if that was a mistake. So it looks like they're just taking a break. I didn't see any dots in the chat. So I'm going to read some chat for a while. What's up, guys? Oh, the Lon McCarran chuckle after every dreadful joke. I love Lon McCarran. He's just such a nice guy. And if you make a terrible joke, he's your joke. It's like why it's so nice to commentate with him. He just won't let anyone fall flat on their face. I like that Jimmy listened to Jay Farr, turned Crouton around so he could focus more on the tables. Hio MTG says, what has been my biggest losing day? In MTTs, probably somewhere around 4 or 5K in a day on like when it was Scoop or some big event. Had some pretty horrendous Sundays. And then in like live cash, I have one really painful one where I got ace cracked in a 25-50 game that was actually 25-50 100, and I think I lost like 10K or something like that, but that pot was just like freaking huge. So we are back in action. The numbers are small, but it looks like Doug is still ahead about 50K. So still, we'll take a buy-in here or there in the streets. It's fine. But I think the fact that they're so close right now in the session means possibly a longer session. Notice that when Daniel is in striking distance of a win, he tends to continue playing a little bit longer than when it's a bloodbath either way. And I think Daniel has been the limiting factor. I think that Doug is willing to put in much longer sessions. He's used to it. He used to grind really hard. So I think it's up to Daniel whether the game continues or not. And Daniel with the overbet will take it down on the left. Jay Farber talking about his biggest losing days. I don't want to hear it, buddy. Anyone who final tables a main, that's the only drawback of final tabling the WSOP main is that people don't put up with your complaining about anything anymore. You're just not allowed anymore. It's the only bad part. You see on the right, DNEG's taking down a small pot with a7 of hearts, a pair of sevens. Although I think Jay probably has some really fun losing actions. Like after winning all that money in the main, you can't really value money the same way you did before that week. And maybe you splash around a lot and get too involved. And Daniel bets 40% on a pretty wet flop. Gets called by Dougie as the board pairs on the turn. D-Negs bets his second pair and gets called by Doug. We don't know what he had, but nice little value bet by D-Negs. Shy Surprise says, whatever happened to the best player in the world, Ryan Reese? His story got more interesting as it went along because obviously that's a very bold and brash comment to say I'm the best in the world because I won a tournament. Like that's a wild comment. That's pretty out of line. But then people were expecting him to just lose a bunch of money and play over his head. And he actually got really good at poker. I don't know if he hired a coach, he studied, but he ended up playing 25Ks and doing fairly well in them. So he went from bragging on like the biggest stage to being, it seems like a pretty hard worker. So I don't know. That's what I know that has happened. So a success story where I think a lot of people were expecting him to kind of fall on his face. Doug takes down a $4,300 pot with second pair of nines. Oh darn, I missed in the chat. It goes too fast what Jay's biggest loss was and what stakes he was playing. I'm only seeing the response. But I'm sure it's something very out of line. He does not seem like the type of person to be playing small and well within his bankroll. Got a 3-bet by Doug on the left. And a rather small 4-bet by Daniel. He's been making it 10 or 11K. And I know the stack sizes are limited by Doug there with the 40K, but I've not seen a 4-bet this small yet. Doug must have just had a piece of cheese in his hand because he makes the fold to that very tiny 4-bet. Possibly interpreting that as just the most nutted, but I would expect it to be a misclick more often than I would, see Daniel actually changing his sizing based on the value of his hand. That would be kind of weird. Jay said I didn't say the amount, but it was 50, 100, 1K, 3K, 10K. Holy crap. That's the biggest I've played too. Not that big, but the games where I played bigger than I wanted to, it just evolved into some massive game. So it'd be like a televised 25-50 where already it's very big for me. And all of a sudden there's like straddle, double straddle, and all of a sudden you're playing 100, 200. It's like vomit. Interesting on the turn on the left, Daniel's making a overbet and it gets through. Morroad 96, can I ask Doug something for me? Yeah, you guys, if you have some good questions for Doug, in case he pops in at the end, I'm happy to write them down and ask him. So fire away. Hopefully I will see some of them. Papa Beak asked about the King 7 flush not raising fleas. It's actually one of them that I wrote down because Liv had some good insight on the hand. And he also was kind of surprised that Jack 7 off fit into DNEG's 3-betting range there. So I'm going to ask Doug about that if he comes on after. You see Daniel taking down a small pot on the left on the 4-liner with trip 10. H3J cases is Brady coming? I don't think Brady is today. Brady really needs a break because this match could go on till March. If it goes 25K hands, it's a lot to ask to have one commentator being in the booth so many days. So every now and then we're just gonna, you guys have to deal with me once in a while. Third gamer says, forget Brady. We have Crouton. That's the spirit. Brady wouldn't even be upset by that. I think he's as much of a dog lover. So, he won't get mad. Morpho says, just ask Doug anything. Just say that it comes from me. My room's too dark, but you can see Crouton's actually on the stream too. But he just looks like a little lump back there. First pot in a while, brewing on the left. We've had so many little 2 and 3K pots. We have 5K in the middle as the board double pairs. And Doug going for a pretty big size, 80% pot. And he's going to take that one down. And that's the first pot he's won on the left in ages. It's like 20K. Yeah, Doug's up a little over 20K now. Play bridges. I prefer the not yelling. Thank you. I'm pretty chill. Some people do like the excitement and the yelling. I like it too when it's authentic. I can't produce authentic streaming yelling. Maybe if they're 200K deep a piece and Doug wins a 400K pot, I might be a little more excited. Small bet on a wet board on the left by DNegs gets called by Doug. And as Norman Chad would say, deuce on the river never changed anything. Nice value bet on the turn and river by DNegs, taking it down with his pair of queens. And the small raise on the right, small check raise, will take that down for DNegs as well. Thank you, Ufe1981. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I appreciate that comment. Raging Bull, would you consider leaving Doug for DNegs if he takes this down? Leaving Doug. I've been friends with Doug for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and I'm very happy with our friendship. I will not be leaving him as a friend if Daniel pulls ahead at some point in this match and takes the win. No, I think I'm probably going to stick with that friendship. I can't be stopped is asking where I live and what's the action like. I'm in Vegas and I don't play live poker right now. I miss it a lot, so after COVID I'll be back, but I have heard some of the games have been pretty wild. On the left we have a 13K pot. I'll replay it after. I was kind of in the chat streets. Doug pairing the 6 will take down 2K on the right. And Doug's going to take it down, betting about 10K on the turn. GCT 18 is a good question. If you were asked early in 2019 who would be the villain in a Doug versus Daniel match, would you confidently say Daniel then? You know, the hero and villain in this are in the eyes of the for sure. If you go to GG Stream, I'm sure there are almost all Daniel fans who think that Doug's jokes are out of line or that Tom is seriously serious. Took some liberties in videos they weren't a fan of. I'm sure of that. I tend to side with Doug's thinking on a lot of things. And some of the decisions that Daniel made in the past as an ambassador for Stars, I was not a fan of. So I would consider Doug the hero in this match, but I know that there are a lot of different perspectives. Daniel taking down 8,500 on the right with the rivered flush a moment ago. Thank you, James Cooper, for watching WSOP. That was a job of a lifetime. Very terrifying, but it was a good experience. And on the left, we built a $6,800 pot as the board double pairs on the river. It is check to Doug. And Doug checks back, and he was getting trapped. Daniel with the trip deuces. Take down 6,800 bucks. If I played Doug for 25K hands, I would get my ass kicked. It's really hard to learn heads up. I'm learning a lot about it over the last whatever it's been, month or so, 2 months. But you can't really beat a lifetime of experience. Doug's been doing this forever. He also taught himself. There weren't really solvers when he was learning. So he pretty much taught himself. He stopped getting action, so he started training all these people that he was friends with that he thought had the capacity to learn. They all crushed. I don't think there's anything I could do to get up to speed with Doug. I guess except if he stopped studying forever and I got heavy in the solver streets, then maybe I would ever play him. But I don't think those things are happening. So on the right, we're going to see Doug take down a nice 11K pot with a better pair of 10s. I would have to play such micro stakes to be able to afford to play Doug 25K hands and last them. We have Doug overbetting this turn and taking it down for 12K on the left. 88 Dominic. 1 month on an app and you're good to go. I was reading a lot of that stuff that Perkins is saying. Perkins is just like so excitable that he was like, these guys made this app and like Daniel's doing so good, but not realizing he doesn't have the context that Doug and all these like good heads up players have had, and knowing like how much they know. It is one of those things where it's like it's hard to know what you don't know, and I think Perkins fell into that trap with the app. It might be a very good app, but I don't think you can really replicate a decade of experience. And I don't know, like people kind of discount intelligence playing a role, and Doug's really intelligent and just has this like will to crush people, and I feel like that's something that an app is not going to teach you. Decent pot brewing on the left and right. And just 1/3 size pot on the turn from Doug. We don't usually see small size Doug. They usually come. It gets called, and the ace on the river. And Doug with the overbet. Actually wasn't expecting it this time. I guess there's a chance that he was betting 1/3 pot on the turn to induce a raise. I guess there's also the chance that he had the nut flush draw and he's now value betting a pair of aces. There's a chance that he just completely smashed the board on the flop. I really hope this gets called because hole cards are fun. Uh-oh, Jimmy says I missed a straight flush. So, oh, sorry guys. Straight flush alert on the right for $8,100. I was watching the pot brewing on the left, so let me see what happened. Single raise pot, king, 6 deuce, 2 spades, and just went check bet call. Turns the spade. Yeah, Doug went runner straight flush and got about 2/3 pot. Super flush. Yeah, I guess that's another word you could use. And let's see what happened over here. Oh no, I missed the replayer. Anyone who is watching the table on the left, dying to know because I missed the replayer. What happened in that big pot where Doug overbet? It's so funny to me that, or not funny, but impressive to me that Doug actually was playing Perkins on ACR while playing this match 2 tables. Like it was nothing. He's just playing huge on all of them, where it's hard to follow the action of 2 tables if you're not used to it. If you're not used to playing heads up, it's so much faster. And the 2 tables in the chat is just, that's enough for me. So D-Neg's folded on the left. Okay. Nice hand, Dougie. Purdue Boilermaker wants to know if he eats or drinks anything play. Does he have a big meal? I actually want to know that too, because I have some theories that are based on probably nothing. Where I feel like if I eat before I play, that I have trouble focusing. That like I don't know, your body's digesting, so your blood's not all going to your head. It's probably not real science. I'm not a real scientist, but other people feel the same way. So you know, Daniel takes down a small one on the left. And I'm just feeling a raise coming from Doug over here. But you know, if you guess raise is going to happen, Doug just makes the call with ace high, nice hand, Doug. But I feel like if you're going to bet on what Doug's going to do and you pick the aggressive action every time, you're going to do pretty well in bets. Yeah, I'm reading everyone's ideas about eating or not eating. I think part of it just like changes your mental state. Like if you order food at a table and you've been like locked in before that and focused, I feel like it just changes how you feel. And sometimes I just don't want to feel different. I want to just like go with what's been going on. Maybe if after you take a terrible beat, having a beer or like eating is a good idea. Just to change things up. Nos Borbos, probably mispronouncing your name, as Doug takes down a 3,500 pot on the left. I think that's a good idea, actually. Like talking to chess grandmasters and seeing what they do, because their sport is like purely mental with no luck component, really. And so the results that they experience from eating or not eating is probably more significant than a poker player where you're like you're still dealing with luck, so you don't know, maybe you're reading into things that aren't really there. But yeah, talking to chess players and seeing what their routine is probably a really good idea. And on the left we got a big pot brewing with Daniel betting 3,200 into 8,300. It's that 40% sizing that was not part of his game, probably 6 or 7 streams, but has been added recently. And Doug makes the call. Daniel checks to Doug on this turn. Doug bets about 2/3 pot. Daniel makes the call. 10 of clubs in the river. Flush does not come in, but that seems like a pretty consequential card anyway. And Doug takes it down with a pair of queens. 34K pot, man. That pot grew. And Daniel misses his open ender and just hits a pair. $14 Michael with a little bit of ESP asking how long can D-Negs hold on to that 1K, and that was before the hand he just lost to Doug for about 35K pot. Finding out a lot about the drug problems of chat right now. Guys, take care of yourselves. You get one body. And on the left, Daniel betting 2/3 pot when the ace hits the river for the 85th time today. Daniel takes it down. I would love to mic up Crouton. Scooter asked Crouton's commentating. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot. Having a quiet commentator is good sometimes. But I would like to mic him up and just let him eat chips and crunchy stuff because it's like his mouth is like an echo chamber. It's amazing. So I don't know if you guys saw the schedule this week. They're going to be playing an extra day because next week, or is it just the holiday week? Jimmy can confirm, but yeah, they're going to have some time off at some point. I think next week they're taking some days off because Daniel's playing the 10K WSOP in Vegas, and probably has to do some promotional stuff surrounding that. And then they might have a light schedule over the holidays as well. So they're trying to cram in a couple extra days here and there, and also trying to make their sessions slightly longer because both of them are busy human beings who don't want to be doing this match for the rest of their life. Daniel betting about 80% pot on the river on the left. And Doug putting in a very healthy raise and getting it through for a 43K pot. finally I'm right. I've just been thinking every single time that Doug's going to be raising those spots, and he called a bunch of times, so, you know. I've just noticed from watching without hole cards that you end up having to anticipate the action way more instead of just getting the answer and then figuring it out from there. And I'm just always expecting Doug to be aggressive. So that's just such an awesome table image to have in Heads Up, where if I were playing him, I would just find him to be such a pain in the ass on rivers, and I would find it hard to value bet thinly, just knowing that he's so capable of raising every single river, and you know, really making it hard for you to be betting like hands like third pair and stuff like that. And we've actually seen DNAGs shy away from value betting a few times with hands that my co-commentator would say, oh, that's a pretty clear value bet there. And I think that might be the reason why, is that you're trying to just get to showdown sometimes versus someone so aggressive. The big pot on the right, 8,000 in the middle. Meghead said maybe he didn't get it through. Maybe he didn't get paid off with a better hand. Yeah, I mean, I just always feel like it's a bluff. So I'm just like, oh, cool, he got it through. Way to go. But good point. There's times he's gonna be nutted, and I'm gonna be rooting for that Doug is very much rooting for a call. DNegs took down that 875 board on the right for 11K. And Doug is going to win on the left with just a pair of eights. Greg Shahadi said, where'd Olivier go? Well, we were doing fine, and then I just started teaching him poker. It overwhelmed him so much. He was like, I don't even know how to play this game. How could I commentate on this game? And he rage quit the commentary booth. So I think I ruined his life. But he actually went to go pick up Sophia, his dog, from daycare, if you want the real answer. And Doug ended up taking that down on the left. He missed his flush draw, but made a pair of eights on the turn. So Doug's up about 55K, maybe a little bit more now. I see the cursor. Oh no, 50K. All right. Kush Grower Be Nice. Liv donated 2 hours of his time to us. He answered all the ridiculous questions that Chow was asking, and I feel like he did an amazing job. And also, if I was on hour 3 of just talking to myself, I would be losing my mind. So I really appreciate his commentary. And on the right, as the fourth heart hits the river, Doug betting about 60% pot and takes it down. And Daniel on this paired board on the left, 2x pot. I would be surprised if that was a bluff. I feel like I haven't seen any bluffs like that shown down from Daniel, so probably a good fold by Doug. We'll never know. Best bet Jack says by 12-point K hands, D-Negs is going to be down a quit. That is what I thought would happen, but Olivier said that in the Dat Poker podcast with Terrence Chan, D-Negs, and Adam Schwartz, that Daniel seemed like he wants to finish it. He said, I want to play the 25K hands. He feels like he's been running bad. He feels like he's been playing pretty good and improving. So with that information, I feel like this match is probably a favorite to go the whole distance and last several months and just be entertaining for us while we're kind of still stuck at home. So I'm rooting for that. Doug getting check raised on the 10 Jack Deuce 9. Makes the call and becomes a 4-liner with the queen on the river. Daniel betting 75% pot. Would have thought that queen would be slightly better for Doug's range, but I'm not sure. Doug can also have some flush draws that, yeah, and Doug does end up making a min raise, and they will chop it up. Doug was there on the turn. Ugh. Pretty vomitous river card for Doug. I don't think that hand is going to make the D-Negs rant video about how bad he's running, but you never know. So they'll chop it up. Baseboy said D-Negs sounded quite deflated in his last YouTube session. Second thoughts at this point. He's an emotional guy, so he was feeling good when they recorded the podcast. Maybe he was feeling bad after a session on YouTube. So I don't know how much stock to put in to what he says on any of these things. In trying to figure out if it's going 25K hands. I know that there's money. Very good odds from Perkins to continue the match all the way through. So maybe that's our best evidence that it probably will go. Alvidura, that is my style, to throw insults you don't realize happen until days later, and then it's devastating. I would love that if people just woke up in the middle of the night like, oh my god, that thing she said was so mean. I don't mean it. I think I'm sarcastic, not very mean. A raise on a call on the left on 644. 40% by D-Negs. And a call. A little healthier size bet by D-Negs. And a call. Lots of missed draws out there. See what happens. Daniel with 3/4 pot. Is this the kind of spot where Doug needs to call down with ace high? Maybe. Crouton has something to say about it, apparently. And Daniel has a boat. Would love to see what Dougie has there, but wow. 22K pot going Daniel's direction. Arlie Chauvin's cat says, "Laugh and poker." Ew. If anyone doesn't know that story, David Lappin's podcast, The Chip Race, very good podcast, won the Global Poker Award, and Daniel was on Sasha Solinger's Instagram. His reaction was captured of him going, ew, to the chip race winning, because it's something grown-ups do, you know. Oh my, gotta fade that club there. And he does. Aces versus ace king suited for a massive pot. Got Doug taking down 168K, and this snaps it out. Daniel always sits out after a huge pot. I mean, I think that makes total sense. You don't want to be playing when you're feeling even a little bit tilted. But yeah, that was a 60-ish K a piece. 58 looks like. Total cooler. And I think that will mark the end as it went ... in the chat. I think that's their signal that it is the end. But wow, huge pickup for Doug at the very end of their match. Super cooler. You love to see it. And we'll get the exact total, and I'm not sure if Doug's coming on or not. So Jimmy, do you know, is Doug planning to come on for a couple minutes? We have a couple questions if he wants to answer them. Yeah, Jimmy, I just want to know if Doug was going to come on and talk for a little bit, or okay, gonna confirm. I'll hang out with you guys in chat for see if Doug wants to say anything or not. Oh, Twix says Crouton seems unimpressed. Crouton is enthralled by this match. He's a huge Doug fan. He's a huge Binks fan. That's Doug's dog. Can we crack some brews? Of course. Oh, Laughin says rest in peace, Daniel's dog. I don't even want to joke about that. Animal abuse is no joke. And Pappy Van Winkle says, is Doug calling it at night? Oh, is he calling in tonight? I hope so. I'm not sure, though. He might have some stuff to do. But I'll let you guys know in a minute or two if Doug is planning to come on. 4Bet Bluff, can I help you adopt all the dogs in the shelter? Yes. I would actually love to help. I've helped friends adopt some dogs recently, including Norman Chad, who he actually has my dog's sister because I got him hooked up with in the same litter. And yeah, so if anyone wants to adopt some dogs, hit me up on Twitter. I will help you. Nickhead said he has to load the truck up. He might be loading his truck, so I don't know if he's going to talk to us. Can we get an instant replay? I'm not sure. That would be up to Jimmy. If you just want to savor the moment of a super cooler to end the match, that would be cool. But it looks like the tables are closing because of both guys. Okay. Brady says Doug might be coming on. They think he is. So I'll talk to you guys for a couple minutes before we get confirmation. Vegas Ryan asks, what do you think the chances are Daniel goes the full 25K? From everything I'm hearing, which is like a lot of different opinions, some of them reliable, some not reliable. I don't know, 75%? Arlie Shovins Cat says, I haven't stopped. It's true, I have not stopped smelling since that cooler. All right. I hear Dougie. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
It's going great. We really like that last hand. You thought you cast it.
I also enjoyed that last hand that I played. I thought that was pretty well played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How you feeling?
I'm good. Is my headphones messed up, or like you sound really staticky? Is that on my end?
I think it's on your end because chat lets me know.
All right, let me try to replug my headphones.
Okay.
Hello?
Now you sound a little bit
Hello?
like you're calling from a submarine. Can you talk a little bit?
Hello?
Can't hear you. Jimmy, save us. Help us.
Am I good?
Yep,
Or no?
I hear you. Am I good?
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're
All
good.
right, yay.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah,
Okay,
nice.
cool.
Let me check my video on. I assumed it kind of had to be me because if it wasn't me, there would be thousands of people yelling at you. So
Yeah,
I
I've
was like,
experienced.
yeah. As I'm saying this, it's probably my end. All right, let's see if this loads up. If
Cool.
it. Oh, I think I need to exit this. The amount of things I have to do post session, it's like record the hands, make sure we have
Yeah.
even buttons, make sure the results correct, take a screenshot of stuff, take a screenshot of like the stats, take a screenshot of my balance, take a screen.
Mhm.
It's just like,
It's a
yeah.
lot of steps.
All right, let's see now. Maybe this will
Imagine
work.
being
Will it
DNegs
work?
and
Nice.
imagine
Okay.
being DNegs and losing at the end and still having to take steps after you've already smashed your monitor and your fancy chair.
Yeah, it just, man, for a second there, I was like, maybe he's gonna win it all in. I was like, it's looking like maybe he's got, and I was like, no, not gonna happen.
Were you screaming anything?
No, I
Heart.
don't think so. I was just like, yeah, just please don't. The subtle, please don't.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good pot. That's like 120K, just the non-club. So sweet.
Yeah, that's every poker player is familiar with the please don't.
Yeah.
Uh,
A couple of questions that chat had. Olivier
Sure.
Bousquet was in here earlier too, and brought up a couple good points that I wanted to ask you about. He was surprised the King 7 of clubs hand where you rivered a flush versus Daniel's Jack 7 off that he had 3-bet.
Yeah,
Were you considering getting it all in, or was there? You did not.
it was a mistake on my part.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to run it. I assume it was a mistake.
He had questions about that too. He kept pointing out that like Daniel's 3-bet range was like a little bit odd, and I'm not sure. I don't know if we
Well,
should bring it up, but he had some weird 3-bets in his range, according to Liv.
I've seen, to be honest with you, in the King 7 hand, he bet the river, and I just had a flashback to when he had quads and I jammed the nut flush there, because it was like it just felt so similar. And then I
Mhm.
was like, maybe I can mix in some checks, and I randomized it, and I was like, okay, check. And then he showed on the trips, and I was like, oh fuck, that was really fucking bad. And then I was like stewing about it. I just sat there like stewing about how bad that was, and I was like, oh my god, that was so. What was I thinking?
Mhm.
Why did I do that? That was just it's so bad. It's like I don't understand how I made a mistake like that. That was,
It's PTSD. It happens to all of us. It's
you
like you
know,
were at war and you got beat by quad aces and you remember it.
I swear to God, I had flashbacks to that hand. It's crazy how you can like study, you can learn, you can study, you can learn, you can study, you can learn, and then something can happen in a hand and it makes you think kind of differently, and then you make a mistake.
Mhm.
It's so easy to make mistakes. So that hand I made a mistake. There's probably a couple other hands I made some small mistakes too. But overall, I thought I played good.
Overall,
Especially
you backed up the truck a little bit again, which is nice. It's fun to
we,
commentate on you.
it's nice. What's up, Jimmy? Oh yeah, it's got to be just about 100, I think. Almost exactly 100. It's like 101 or something like that.
Not a bad sesh.
Not a bad sesh. That's gonna bring us up to about 775, I think now
Mhm.
total. And probably like on the online, like almost like 890. So we're up
Mhm.
like 22 buy-ins online. And we lost the 3 buy-ins or a couple buy-ins when we were playing live.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was interesting. You know, I feel like he played a few hands worse today. There were a few hands I really disliked. I really disliked how he played. Um,
Do you want to share any of them, or is this like kind of top secret? You're just gonna go over it yourself.
it's always like a question, right? How much do I feel comfortable sharing?
Mhm.
I can I'll talk about a couple. This king deuce check raise. Did you see that hand?
I probably did see that hand, Doug.
Okay, do you remember that hand?
Run through it again with me one more time.
Okay, it just happened. So, I open king queen. He calls jack 10 deuce rainbow. He checks. I check back. Turns a 9. He checks. I bet my standard size there. He check raises me.
Mhm.
We decided to play it cool and go for the call. So we have the nuts. Always a good hand.
Yes, this hand sucked. I was not a fan of this hand.
And then the river is a queen, and he bets huge. And this is
Mhm.
just not. It's just so. It's just. I mean, Lord knows I run this and it ends up being okay, but like intuitively, this just looks really bad to me because he can't really have many kings here. Like he can have like a few kings. Like he could have like
Mhm.
king X of spades. Maybe I don't think king deuce should be in his range, but I'll have to look at that as well. Maybe king deuce is actually okay. King deuce could be okay. Um, maybe a king eight, but that's kind of it. And he has way more hands that are not a king. So on that river, I don't think out of position gets to bet very often. And if you do bet, I think you need to do a size that makes more sense for an 8. So I think like small sizes make sense. Because you will definitely have some 8s. I think you have an 8 more often than you have a king. I have to like run the hand, but I just don't think that it makes sense to just bomb it with a king there. It's like I got there time to get paid is like kind of what it feels like. But the reality
Yeah.
is your range doesn't get to have many bets, and like I think obviously neither player has ace king, so it's not really that relevant. But yeah, I don't think it makes much sense. I'll have to take a look, but I don't think that he should be betting that hand. I think that
Mhm.
that hand was not very well played. Um, there
It
was
is.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it is interesting talking to you about hands afterwards because there's like the initial feeling that a hand is shady, and then there were times that we were all, "Holy shit, that hand's so bad!" And you run it, and you're like, "Guys, sorry, call off the dogs. It's okay." I'm like, freaking solvers.
It's so tough. It's so
Yeah.
tough. Think about other hands that I feel comfortable. Yeah, there's this line where it's like I'm okay talking about some hands, but then like if it gets to be something that I think could really help him, obviously I don't want to.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
because
We
there's a
have
couple.
some very innocuous questions from chat that I wrote down. If you want to answer something that will give no information to anyone,
Go for it.
they want to know if you eat or drink before or during your sessions, and what do you have?
Well, during I usually just have like a water or a LaCroix, and we had both of those
Mhm.
today, so that's good. I don't eat. I feel like it distracts me.
Mhm.
I like to stay hungry, literally.
Brutal when the sessions
uh,
are 5 hours, like last time though.
yeah, but you get kind of in the zone, and then there's always Twitter, so that's always good. Um, sometimes when like I bang off an especially brutal river, Negreanu will just DM me and be like, "LOL." And I'm
That's
like,
kind of
yeah,
sweet, actually.
that one was pretty LOL. Sorry, yeah. So it is kind of funny. Like every now and then you'll chat with people you're playing heads up, but it doesn't happen too often. Trying to think about other hands. There's some other interesting hands that happened here. I mean, like the biggest hand I got aces. He got ace king suited. He's getting stacked
Yeah.
there always. It's
Yeah,
just
you
not.
outplayed him and he should be embarrassed. Like, that's
Yeah, it's
terrible.
skill game. Just a skill game. It's really tough for Negreanu right now because, and don't get me wrong, he should be losing. Absolutely.
Okay.
I gotta give that caveat. But he should
Mhm.
be down like a few hundred K probably or something like that, or maybe 400K or something like that.
Mhm.
But he's down instead like approaching 800K. So
Yeah.
now it's like, he's the worst player, but he's also running really bad. And he has to be like, no, guys, I'm running really bad. And
And no
it's
one
like,
believes him.
well, no one believes him, but it's also like he's also making mistakes. So like the way that like there's nuance there, right? Like Negreanu is not just like playing horrifically and not doing anything right. He's doing a lot
Mhm.
of things better and correct, but he is making mistakes. Sometimes they're big, and then
Mhm.
he's also running really bad. So it's like he kind of can't. He can't. It's going to be really hard for people that are watching and trying to root for Negreanu to understand the nuance there and be able to understand that like a lot of it's run bad and then a chunk of it's also playing bad
Yeah.
or playing worse or making mistakes. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm making mistakes all over the place. I'm still angry about myself by the hand. I'm not gonna.
Sorry I asked you about the hand you're the most angry about.
I had finally let it go, Jamie. I'd finally let that hand go. I was ready to move on with my life, and they're like,
Mhm.
"What about that hand you played that was really bad?" And I'm like, "Sigh."
What are
Um,
friends for?
what are friends for? So, let me think. Is there another hand here? I'm pulling it up. I'm just going through our biggest hands. So we had the hand where he four bet aces, and I called ace eight suited, and the flop was ace 10-3, which is not a good flop when you have ace 8 and they have aces, for the record. And he bet jammed. Um,
Yeah, that was like, what are you gonna do? Do you just like hope that he just? It's so unlikely that he has aces, but I mean, he has all the good aces, ace king and ace queen, and you just have to pay it off, or is that a hand that you think you misplayed?
Well, so and again, I'll have to run that afterwards. But he's not saying he has aces. I think aces is probably checking flop or turn a
Mhm.
chunk of the time. Obviously sometimes also betting, but if he has aces, it's not a great triple barrel hand because I'm way less likely to have top pair. So it's way better to have ace 10 or tens or ace 3. He's not
Mhm.
gonna have ace 3 probably, but um, ace 10, ace king, tens, ace queen, those kinds of hands are way better. Because like in this spot, I just simply don't have a lot of aces. I just
Yeah.
don't. There's not many aces left. But anyway, like when I have ace 8 there, I mean, it's not a great spot, but there's bluffs he can have. He could have Jack 9. I've seen that 4-bet that. He could have King 9. I've seen him 4-bet that. He can have Queen Jack. I've seen him 4-bet that. There's like a bunch of hands that he can have, and if you just start folding your top pairs, what are you calling? So sometimes you just have to. Sometimes, especially for a pots, you just have to call. You just have to be like, "Fuck it." Like if I'm beat, I'm beat, and I'll just get stacked here.
Mhm.
But like I don't know. Maybe that's too humany. I feel like one of my biggest leaks is like when it's close, I tend just to call, or
Mhm.
I tend to make the stationy play, and sometimes I just need to like to fold appropriately. I'm not talking about overfolding, by the way. I'm not saying like Negreanu is a nit. I'm gonna overfold. I mean like calling appropriately. Like sometimes I think I lean too loose. So um, it's hard because if you fold, you lose. And in a lot of these spots, I don't know exactly what pinpoint my range is like, so I don't want to be letting bluffs get through.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
so
hard in the beginning, you're not getting the information either. If you're playing with whole cards, then you're like, okay, I'll still get the information. I'll know if I'm like folding too much. But here if you in the beginning of the match just fold too much, like how do you ever correct that? You're not getting info.
yeah, well, when you play live, you talk about the live session basically, right?
I was just talking about now, like towards the beginning of a match, like let's say it goes 25K. It's like if you call a little too much, at least you're getting some information. Or like if you're folding too much, like how do you ever find out you folded too much?
True. But over a long match, you're gonna find out either way. There's so many hands, right? Like you'll start to get a good idea. I mean, Negreanu had some brutal spots here. Like, I mean, obviously the aces spot is very fortunate. He's gonna win. He's gonna win half a bind or more there. You know, likely all of it. So that's obviously very fortunate for him. But like, we had a hand where he turned a straight, turned a flush. He even had a club blocker. He's gonna get stacked there. We had a hand where I had kings. Um, I 3-bet called king 10-5. I bet he called turn jack, check check.
Of
River
hearts,
three,
right? That was when he
yeah.
came through hearts. Yeah.
River 3,
Mhm.
check. He bets. I check raise all in. He's gonna get stacked there.
Mhm.
Um, that one I bluffed. No, it was not a cooler situation. That one was not a cooler situation. I mean, those are like the big pots. I do have to say though, I just the running the constant run bad complaining. It's like okay, sometimes you run bad in poker. You just do.
Mhm.
Like you know what I'm saying. Like the first 10 binds, I went on like a 12 bind downswing here, and it sucked. Obviously, I wasn't like
Yeah.
pumped up like yeah, let's fucking go get him. But I was like, you know what, that's just fucking poker. Sometimes you go on a big downswing, like or I mean, 12 buy-ins is like a reasonable size downswing. So I think Negreanu's a little too focused on like, did I run bad or not, and he's not enough focused on like, what are all the mistakes that I made. And one thing that I've seen him say like after a session, he'll be like, well, great session, like didn't make many mistakes or didn't make mistakes or whatever, um, or like played great or whatever. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because I like review my own sessions and I run the sims. And I'm like, wow, I made like fucking 12
Yeah.
errors. Negreanu played perfectly, and I can look at his hands and I can see like I can run them myself. Oh, he's making these mistakes. So it's like we'll play a session. I'll make 10 to 5 mild to moderate errors. He'll make like 15 to 20 mild to moderate errors or major errors. And then for both of us, both make major errors. Obviously, I made one today. And then I'll be looking at this, and then he's like playing great. It's like, dude, no one's playing great here.
Yeah, it could just be like it's the not knowing what you don't know, right? Like I've been there. It's a very blissful state to be in when you just don't know like what you're doing wrong. So you're like, I think I played great. Could it be that it's just like he is relatively new to
well,
heads up? So
well, let's think of it like this, right? So let's just say we play 500 hands in average session. They're a bit longer now.
mhm.
Let's say that the average hand you have 3 decisions, right? Like maybe it's less. I don't know how often it just goes raise fold or whatever, but
Mhm.
you're gonna get at least one pre-flop decision, maybe two. You're gonna get if there's a flop, you're mainly gonna get a flop decision. You might get 2 flop decisions. Like you're gonna get, if it checks through or you get to the turn, whatever. My point is you get 3-ish decisions, right? 3 to 4. And we're gonna play 500 hands. So you're gonna make like 1,750 decisions. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so just think about that, and then just imagine thinking that you hit all those. Like you didn't. Like you might have hit like 1,600
Yeah.
or 1,700 or 1,650, or maybe you were like, like maybe like there's 1,700, like maybe you like on the dot hit 1,450, and then you like were pretty accurate with 200, and then you were
Mhm.
like kind of off on 100, and then like you had like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that. So
Yeah.
there's no like session you're gonna go through and be like you're not making much of mistakes. You're always making mistakes. I'm not trying to say when he said he's playing good, he's saying he plays perfectly.
Mhm.
But my point is, like, I think that if I was in his shoes, I would be way more concerned with like, well, what about the pots that aren't coolers? Like, obviously, when someone gets cooler, someone's gonna get fucking stacked. Like, there's no point even addressing the aces versus ace king. I mean, you can complain about it if you want, but what's that really gonna do, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're equally likely to get that both ways. Obviously, I've been mashing in the all-in pots, and that's very fortunate for me. That, like weird things were happening. I don't understand. What about the pots where like I'm not sure what's going on in my range?
Mhm.
That's like where you spend your time. There's no point in complaining about the run bad. It's just what's it gonna do? Not gonna change anything. You just gotta like keep doing your best and keep trying
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I at least appreciated that he added like the video is pretty funny. I'll give him that because I'm like, when people just complain, it's like tweet after tweet, it's like, oh my god, this happened to me, and like, oh, queens less than tens. And you're just like, no one cares. But I appreciated the video. As someone who is not a D-Negs fan, I was like listening to the one that was like the drunkish version of it, and I was like, this is pretty funny.
The hand reviews have been funny, especially the drunk one was great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're funny. I enjoy, I enjoy watching them.
Of course you do.
It's so mean to say that.
He pretty much made
So yeah,
you
I
a
love
highlight
watching
reel.
these videos where he's like, "Here I get fucked again. Here I get this guy lose," and I'm just like,
Oh man,
I'm
that's
just
your
watching it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was. I don't know. It's funny. I find them funny, obviously. And I'm not saying that he has like behind the scenes what he's doing. Like behind the scenes, I imagine they're not even really talking about the luck and stuff. But like the public perception, sometimes you run bad as poker.
Yeah.
Sometimes you run good. That's the reality. Like, when I think he got second in the one drop or something. I think
I
he
think
wasn't
so.
like he didn't spend the next month tweeting about how awesome he ran. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like that's just poker. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Like you run
Our
hot, you run
human
cold.
brains are like they're not equipped to like deal with variance very well. I feel like a lot of people like ruminate on ridiculous beats or whatever and like have trouble seeing when they're lucky. Oh, Jimmy
Um,
said that Daniel's losing his mind or has lost his mind. It's over now.
Jimmy, I think you need a new mic. It sounds like you're going through a wind tunnel, bud. We might need to get you your own mic. Compliments that you are on the house. I'm thinking someone out there.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like he's frustrated. I get that, but like I tell you what, I played a lot of heads up matches, and you're just gonna have these things come and go, and there's spots that I mean he's definitely run bad in. He should only be down, I don't know, 10 buy-ins, something like that. I'm not sure what the number is, and he's down 22. He's obviously run bad. My win rate right now is out of fucking control. My win rate right now is probably like 25 or 26 big blinds. It's obviously not that
Oh, okay,
high.
I'll tell Liv that because he was wondering. He said, "Is there any way to like that?"
Is there any way to what? Sorry.
Have like a running total of that every stream because that's like very interesting to people who play more poker, just like how like per 100 like how many big blinds you're winning.
Yeah, well, you can just take the hands and divide it by you take the winnings, and then I mean there's an equation we can do. Take the winnings,
Okay.
divide it by 100, or sorry, divide it by 400. Now you have it in big blinds. Then the big blinds, you take that and you divide that by 100. Now you have that. That's the win rate per
Oh,
100,
cool.
right?
Okay, that's
Right.
I should probably have figured that out, but I didn't, so now I know.
Or no, sorry. You take the amount of winnings divided by 40,000. Now you have it in blinds, and then you divide that by hands.
Okay.
It's easy. I could take a piece of paper and do it. I'm sure there's an easy way to get it done.
Okay. Yeah, you need more homework. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm like, Doug, can you just also teach a course while you're doing?
Yeah. So this is how division works. No. Yeah, like my all unadjusted. So My win rate is just like 24 right now, or 25. It's something ridiculous. My all-in adjusted win rate is probably like 16 or 17, which is still very high.
Yeah.
Maybe at 16, I'm not sure. It's quite likely to me that I'm winning in the 10-15 range. I think that's pretty likely. I think 20 is not impossible, but that's pretty unlikely, I think. That's not impossible though. So you look at that and you're like, okay, well, even if all the all-ins were even, I'd be winning at 16. That's still probably too much. So I'm probably running good situationally.
Like card distribution and stuff.
Yeah, but then there's also been a bunch of nonsense where I got fucking stacked, and it's like, are we gonna do this? We're gonna go back and forth. I'm like, well, I had kings when you had aces, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I had the second nut flush when you had the nut flush, and like, this is just like, this is a 200, 400 fucking heads up match, you know? This is not like, I don't know. It's just.
I feel like the person who's up just goes like, whatever. You let him have his video, you know,
Yeah,
make your video.
I know, and I really probably shouldn't even be saying anything, frankly, because he is running bad. I'm not denying that. It's just it's like dominating like the conversation, and I just feel there's so many other things going on where I don't really understand why that has to be the definitive conversation that we're gonna have. Let's talk about how bad Negreanu is run. Yeah, he's run bad. No arguments. I'm not denying that in any capacity.
Yeah.
But he still should be down, probably more like 400 or 500K, whatever it should be, and he still has a lot of things he needs to work on. So I mean, I have things I need to work on. But it's better to talk about the interesting hands and the close hands and the tough hands. I think the real problem is in the post-game sessions for both of us. A lot of times, like, what can we really say? Like, I feel like this sometimes with my hands, like, oh, well, I can talk about the standard hands, but I'm going to be like, oh, well, Negreanu is doing this, and my strategy is to have these things. I use these sizes, and this is my range. This is what it looks like. I can't do that.
Afterwards, are you going to do anything after the match is completely finished, where you'll like maybe go through some of your like biggest decisions?
Definitely. After I finish this, I'm going to make some content. I don't exactly know in what capacity and how much I'll do. But we'll at bare minimum we'll show some fun hands that were had along the way. There's a few great ones. Something really funny happened today, and I can't even share it. I know, like, it's just such a slow roll, but something.
You were that guy in school that was like, guys, I got a secret, and everyone's like, what is it? And you're like, not
kind
telling.
of.
Yeah.
I kind of did. Ooh, I made a straight flush today, by the way.
I know, and I almost missed it because there was a big hand on the other table, and then chat was like exploding. They're like, straight flush. I was like, oh my god, I gotta get this.
I was
mad.
I was just praying he had the nut flush there. just praying. Just please, gods. I've only run like 500 or 400,000 over EV.
Yeah.
Please just give me this.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah, I deserve this. That's the best way to think about it, Jamie. This is what I deserve. I deserve to hit this.
It is a little scary hearing you talk about the variance. Like, you're talking about the positive variance you're experiencing, but if it had gone in the other direction, you could be even right now. Like, if Daniel had run as good as you're saying you think you are running, that would negate the 400 or 500K that you think you deserve to be up by how you're playing. And you guys could just be even, and the internet would be exploding, and I would be the most miserable commentator, and I'd just be like, so sad.
Absolutely, this could be dead even. It could be. Absolutely, that's totally possible. You know, if I've doubled my expected winnings, then it could easily be none of it. So that is crazy to think about. That it could be that close. It's just heads up is crazy. I mean, there's a lot of heads up hands that are just someone's getting stacked out here. That's just the way that it goes. And you know, you just try to be the guy doing the stacking when you can, and then hope to not be getting stacked. And that's all there is that you can say about it. Let me see if there's any other interesting hands I could talk about for a sec. That one was probably spewy.
I have a random question too, if you want it. The chat asked a lot of questions that are repeat, but one was just that: is there some amount of money that you could be up at halfway through that you would throw a bone to PokerGo and to everyone and have 200 more hands be live?
I already offered to Negreanu we can just play the final 200 live. So
really? Oh, that's cool.
The way that it works is first 200 was live, and then if we end up being within 500K after the first 12.3, so like the last 200 hands of the first half, we'd play those live. That might not happen. I mean, it still might happen. He could come back and only be down less than 500, in which case it would just be automatically live. But I said that if, you know, if he wants to, we can just do it live anyway. And I think like, you know, we both have some concerns about like what's happening with COVID right now. Like it's just pretty wild.
Yeah.
And you know, do we want to risk getting COVID to go play these 200 hands live? I don't know. Probably not. It's
Yeah.
it's weird. It's like you say, I don't want to get COVID. Be like, oh wow, what a bitch liberal. It's like,
No,
that's like,
it's even sillier now when we're like, there's a vaccine on the horizon. So you're just like, do you
yeah.
really want to gamble when like in a month or two you might not even have to think about it again?
I mean, I think the chance that anything would happen to me is like 0.whatever%, 0.0
Just even getting
whatever%.
sick for a
But I
month.
just don't want to get sick. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to have to deal with getting COVID. Like,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
know. It's
about
just,
dying or not dying. It's like who wants to lay in bed for a month with chills and stuff, or a week, or however long. Like,
yeah, it doesn't sound fun. I'd
Yep.
rather just not. So,
Yeah.
or like give it to other people, or have to isolate. Like, sorry, Caitlin, we don't get to hang out for a week or 2
Yeah.
weeks. Or I don't even know how long it takes to go away. So,
Yeah.
so that's probably a concern, I think, for whether we would want to do that. Also, schedule wise, it's going to get a little bit less frequent. Like this week, we're doing a lot of sessions because next week's off, I think. And
For
then
the
we have,
WSOP main or whatever, right? I think Daniel's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pull up my schedule.
I think it's the first time I said it without saying main with the big air quotes.
Yeah, the main.
Mhm.
Yeah, the main. We're all in on it. Okay, so I think we're gonna play. Let me pull this up. Just for the viewers, so you guys know when to tune in, because it's going to be a little bit less. And this isn't like 100%, but this is more or less what we decided. We're going to do most likely the 21st and the 23rd. So we're taking next week off for the main. And then we're going to play the 21st, 23rd, 28th, 30th, and then January 4th, 6th, 8th, which I think might just be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll be back on the normal schedule after that. I think like if you want like an idea of how many sessions are left, so we played how many hands was it today? I have this written down.
It says 79-21 hands played so far, if that's accurate.
That looks inaccurate to me because I just got this thing from WSOP. Is this correct? I feel like this might be wrong. The WSOP updates, the software is not the easiest, JB. It's not the easiest software to live with.
Yeah, this is my life, Doug. This is my life. I'm not challenging millionaires to play on this for like small amounts of money. It's really great.
Because this says a different number than I thought we had. And I'm gonna have to go through and see which session. Okay, so it's looking like we've probably finished. I'm just guessing here. I'll have an official tally later. 8,500 hands.
Okay. Wow,
So
you're getting it done.
yeah, so like if we on average play 600 hands a session, we only have 4K more hands. So if we play 600 hands a session, we'll be done in like 6 or 7 sessions. So realistically, that first week of January, that could be the end of the first half. It's possible. In fact, I would kind of expect it. It depends on how long we play, but I would expect like around the 8th or the 28th. Sorry, the 8th or the 12th or whatever, 11th, to be one of the final sessions. So that's kind of the schedule that we got coming up in the near future, guys. If you wanted to tune in.
Yeah, and obviously they want to know if it's going to go to 25K. It gets asked in 700 different ways each time.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked that all the time. Doug, what do you think? It's like, well, I'm playing. So so for those of you that don't know, I think everyone knows by now, but it'll just clear it up. Essentially, after 12.5K hands, whoever's losing gets a chance to opt out for the second half. So it just comes down to how does Daniel feel like he's playing, and does he think it's close enough? If he does think it's close enough, then he'll keep playing. And he said in multiple places he's going to keep playing. I don't see any reason that he's not going to. I do think that if he gets really buried, I think he might not. I don't know. Like, I don't know what his cutoff point is. Like, you're like, Doug, how much would he have to lose to not play? I don't know. I'm not. You have to ask. That's a Daniel question.
Yeah.
You can't ask me like, Doug, how much will Daniel lose and keep playing? I don't know.
I'm sure he gets asked
really
it more than chat asks. So
yeah,
he said
I think
on his podcast, Olivier said he listened to it, and that Daniel said that he was planning to play, and that he seemed like upbeat and confident. And someone in the chat was like, he seemed demoralized and angry on YouTube, and I don't think he's gonna do it. So I'm like, I don't know. Every day he probably changes his mind too.
Yeah, I watched that podcast. I watched that podcast, and he seemed that he was gonna play it. So yeah, I think it's likely. It's hard to say. I do think that there's a chance that if I'm almost not quite, but I'm almost rooting to not just keep winning every all-in that I get. Because if that happens, like I think anyone at some point will just start to be like, this is just too much for me.
Mhm.
So, you know, a club in the ace king versus aces hand might have been good for the game. Uh, but obviously I can't root for that.
Yeah. I hear what
Um,
you're saying, but I also think his personality type doesn't quit. Like,
I think if I had to guess, is there a betting market on this somewhere? I'm sure
I'm
goddamn
sure there is. Mike McDonald's in the chat. I'm sure.
yeah, Mike McDonald. Yeah, Tyler's like, yeah, welcome to Poker
Yeah,
Jam.
he's like,
Welcome to
I
Poker
think
Jam.
I
Come
can.
on in. Take a seat. I got just the bet for you. It's like, I think he's a favorite to play it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I guess it depends on the next 4K hands go. Let me put it like this: if he has some good sessions and rallies back, he's definitely playing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If it stays around here, I think he's playing. If it gets bad, I think he might quit. But he also might consider that he has a bunch of side bets and stuff. I know Bill Perkins said he
And
gave
JD's
Daniel.
probably happy he's playing. Like, that's good for the
Yeah.
sponsor. Even if he loses, like coming in as the underdog, you're not expected to win. It's not like if he came in as like a favorite and then his brand is like, please just stop this. This is like tarnishing you. You know, I feel like Gigi's happy he's playing it and getting the attention and stuff.
Yeah, I've had the reverse angle talk to me like, so Doug, there's a lot of pressure because if you lose, you know, everyone's gonna know, like, damn, that was bad. Like, you pretty much suck. Like, that was a big deal. Doug sucks, huh? I was like, no, I'm not really worried because the reality is like you just do your best, and I think he's probably coming at it from a similar perspective. But yeah, there's probably less pressure on him to win. Um, I think that the army of Negreanu fans would be descending upon me if I was currently down 800K.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Could
very
you
unhelpful.
imagine? Oh, I wouldn't even turn my monitors on. I'd be like,
You would just be playing
shut
Tony
it
Hawk
down.
all day. You're like in your room playing Tony Hawk. You don't talk to anyone.
Yeah, we're doing kick flips and we're pretending
Yep.
the internet's not a thing. So yeah, I think he's likely to play it, but we'll have to see what happens.
Cool. That's all I got for you, unless you have anything.
No, that's it. Appreciate the casting today, Jamie. How much did you do solo?
Maybe an hour and a half. It wasn't bad. I just wanted to Twitch streamer mode where you're like, "What's up, guys?" in the chat, you know.
I'm familiar with the What's Up Guys, believe it or not. I know a thing or two about What's Up Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned from the best. No, it was fun, and Olivier did. It was awesome, and
Oh, nice. The
yeah.
chat, I like having Olivier on.
Yeah, they asked him like a million. So chat does a thing that you can appreciate where they ask you personal questions, but then when you answer them, they say stop talking about yourself. So that's what they did to live for like the whole day. But no, it was highly entertaining.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a tough bunch to get along with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel?
I love the Twitch chat.
Okay, stop talking about yourself. I'm just kidding.
God, I want
All right, right into it. Walked right into that one. All right. Yeah, I guess that's it then, guys. So I guess I'll close it out. It is my channel after all. Thank you guys for watching today. I appreciate Jamie for the cast as well as Olivier stopping by earlier. And you guys want to tune in? We're back tomorrow at, I don't know why I went to look. It's always 2:30 Pacific time. We'll play for some number of hours, maybe more, maybe less. Money will be wagered. The way it's going, it's looking like it's going to be a good one for me because that's all that happens lately, apparently. So if you want to see that, tune in tomorrow where hopefully I am once again going to be